HD presented by Vizio. It's one of the most spectacular settings you will see in NASCAR, the city skyline of Montreal, just beyond the St. Lawrence River, framing Notre Dame Island, and the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, where over 80,000 fans have come to watch the NASCAR Busch Series race on this demanding 14-turn road course. ESPN's exclusive coverage of the NASCAR Busch Series rolls north of the border today for the first NAPA Auto Parts 200 presented by Dodge at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. 43 drivers are buckling in, ready to go racing just moments from now. Alan Bestwick joined by two-time NASCAR Busch Series champion Randy LaJoie. Glad that you've joined us for our coverage of the race. Randy, we've heard from the drivers about how difficult this race is going to be on them and their cars. That said, how important is it to start up front today if you want to win?
Well, I'm not sure. When you got Kevin Harvick, you got Jeff Burton and Biffle all in the back of these things, their teams are prepared for different scenarios. That's one thing road courses bring, different scenarios. I think by the end of the day, these guys are going to be up front.
Talking about guys who will be starting in the back. Their double-duty shuffle, of course, been going on between Pocono and the Nextel Cup Series practice today, and here in Montreal, where the Busch Series qualifying started about noon Eastern time. 3 of the drivers made it in time, 3 did not. Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, Greg Biffle to the back. Jason Leffler and Richard Johns are in backup cars after crashes during practice. Highly anticipated this race is by the fans. They're about to hear the sound they've been waiting for.
Amateurs de course, c'est maintenant le moment d'entendre ces mots magiques que vous attendez depuis le début du week-end. Racing fans, this is the time to hear these magical words you've been waiting for since the start of the weekend. Et pour les prononcer, voici le président et chef de direction de UAP NAPA, Monsieur Robert Atem.
Conducteurs, démarrez vos moteurs. Drivers, start your engines!
The start coming up from Montreal. The first time ever the NASCAR Busch Series is ready to rock in Canada. Here started off in early March down in Mexico City. Completely across the United States, we go to Montreal for today's event. And then next weekend it's on to Watkins Glen, New York for the third of the road course races in 2007 for the Busch Series. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal today, the venue for the NASCAR Busch Series, their 23rd race of 35 in 2007. We've talked about it, Randy and I have. We've heard it from the drivers earlier. The story of the day today, brakes.
Brakes is the word of the weekend, for sure. It's got to be.
Well, it's one of the few tracks that Formula One goes to when they have problems making the brakes live the whole race. So, now you have a car that's 3 times as heavy with the same horsepower almost. It's just going to be a big deal.
You're definitely not going to be able to go hard the whole time. You're going to have to think about, some level of finesse and making sure that, the brakes don't get too hot. They don't wear out, they just get too hot.
Because on a street course, we're going 170, breaking down to like 50 in 3 spots. So it just doesn't give the brakes enough time to cool.
You can tell, you get a feel for the pedal kind of gets a little bit long, and that's when you got to back off and make sure you cook them for good. And if the fluid gets too hot, there's no getting it back.
So patience would be a big piece of, at least as I see coming into this weekend, being smart, taking care of your car, taking care of your brakes, and waiting for the moment that really counts, which is only that last lap in racing.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup for today's 200-miler here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. A Canadian from Quebec, Patrick Carpentier on the front row with Max Pappas, the Italian, on the outside. In fact, we've got drivers from all over the world in these first 5 rows.
And you got Hornaday up there, too.
Yeah, that's true. Ron Fellows, the Canadian. Boris Said from California in row number 2. Couple of heavy favorites to contend for the win in this race.
These guys have so much experience road racing. These guys are going to be the rabbits. These guys are going to learn so much. Hornaday, Marcus Ambrose, just to get it into a rhythm. That's going to be the biggest thing. Get into a rhythm. Do not wear your stuff out.
Nick Janssen originally from Sweden, Michelle Jourdain from Mexico, all inside the top 10 starters. Great qualifying run for Stephen Light.
His 2 road races right here, Jorge Geddes and Robbie Gordon. Robbie Gordon is going to be very exciting to watch at the front of this race.
Andy Pilgrim driving Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s 88 car, and Andy Lally, a 3-time champion in the Grand Am Sports Car Series.
Another one to watch, Stephen Wallace. Him and Carl Edwards are going to be coming back through this pack in a hurry.
Stephen has had a great car throughout practice. Jason Leffler will go to the back in a backup car. He had a crash in practice earlier. Eric Almirola driving the Joe Gibbs 20.
David Reagan and Michael Valiente. I mean, here's Michael Valiente, tested just last week. Never had an H-style shifter in his life. Always driven a car with a straight line shift.
Greg Biffle lined up in row 13. Casey Atwood qualified his car. Biffle will be one of the guys that goes to the tail of the field on the pace laps for the driver substitution. We'll see his progress through the field.
DJ Kennington run this race, run a Canadian Tire race earlier and did a wonderful job.
Kevin Harvick will go to the back. David Ruderman will not. Harvick did not make qualifying. Ruderman did.
These guys are going to be very exciting to come up. Todd Cleaver said he's getting better every lap.
Coming from row 16 today, Jeff Burton's car qualified by Scott Wimmer. He'll drop to the tail of the field on the pace laps.
I can't wait to see the first couple laps. Mark Green wasn't originally scheduled to drive this car. He tested Ruderman. He's in a race car now.
Mike McKenzie, one of the Canadian drivers in the field. Richard Johns in a backup car after a crash in practice.
J.R. Fitzpatrick, he's the point leader in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series.
Had a race here earlier today, mentioned earlier this morning on this racetrack. Jarrett Johnson brings up the tail of the 43-car field, and that's how we will go when the green flag waves here in just a couple of minutes. Our in-race reporter today, and get his thoughts as the day progresses. So the field making its way around the very long and slow pace laps here on this 2.7 mile track. Takes a little while to run around here at the pace speed, which is pretty slow. Pit road speed today is going to be something to keep an eye on. It's just 30 miles an hour on this pit lane.
Well, this is something that the drivers won't hear a lot of throughout their oval tracks. Is the crew chiefs not going to come on the radio and say, hey guys, warm the brakes up before the first turn.
Yeah.
They're saying stay off the brakes. Do not heat them up at all.
There's the pit entry. You also think that's going to be a key today in the race?
It is. Not only there's the start, there's your speed line right there at the yellow. Once you leave there, once you get your speed, you have to take a left and a right. So it's going to be a little different for these guys. We heard Andy Pilgrim say he almost crashed coming in there. He was watching his tack to keep his speed right.
Look at the reception these fans are giving these drivers as they come by on their pace laps. Let's check some stories from pit road before we go green flag racing. Vince Welch, you're first.
Well, Alan, this is the most physically demanding of the 3 road courses that they run on the Busch Series. In fact, I've seen several drivers with their hands taped because of the blisters that have been caused by the multiple shifting, 18 to 20 shifts per lap, some of these drivers. And also the foot and leg fatigue from working the brake so aggressively. Patrick Carpentier told me after practice on Thursday his leg was shaking when he left the track. He had been using it so much on the brakes. Now let's check in with Gary Jarrell.
Earlier in qualifying for Scott Pruitt, there was an electrical gremlin that affected one of the distributors. It cost him, he thought, 0.3 of a second. He had one more lap, didn't get it. He starts 7th. He obviously has got a lot of work to do, but he's still very, very confident. Marty?
Guys, given the ultra-tight confines here in Montreal, starting in the rear is a massive disadvantage. However, maybe not as big a disadvantage as you might think. Many drivers told me starting in the middle is much worse than starting in the rear. Why? Because in the rear they can hang out, take their time, and watch all the craziness happen in front of them. Look for the middle of the pack to be a treacherous place today. Alan?
Especially with these walls so tight to the racetrack. Coming back with the green flag when we return to Montreal. Brad Parrott getting his 41 team fired up as we get set to go racing. In Canada for the NASCAR Busch Series ever. And the field is rolling down now the final straightaway before the last chicane and the start of the race.
On the starter stand is a legendary race car driver from Canada, John Paul Cabana.
He will wave the green flag to get the field going. There he is, tucked in between the NASCAR officials.
I've chased him quite a few times on these short tracks up here.
Have you now?
Yes, I have. He taught me something one time, too. I was chasing him for a lead. About 5 to go, he started waving his hand before spotters, and I slowed up. He did.
You owe him one.
Yes, I do.
What do we watch for here this first corner, Randy? Hard left-right combination, 43 cars.
Well, hopefully the guys don't run over each other. That's the main thing is the first turn, you're going to just kind of be easy. These guys just run these cars for qualifying. They're all pumped up. The wheels are spinning. Just hopefully they don't get stuck in the mud.
Carpentier and Pappas lead him down and join the start for Montreal.
So far, so good.
Not for Max Pappas. One car started second, already shuffled back about 5-6 spots. It is Carpentier leading, Fellows second, Said third, then Ambrose fourth, fifth is Pruitt, and there's Pappas back in 6th place from second.
He was totally excited after qualifying. Maybe he just kind of burst his bubble, and now he's taking a breath. These guys probably went the first couple of turns without even breathing.
That's Robbie Gordon looking for a spot, and here comes Nick Janssen in the 28 car trying to get around Michel Jourdain in the 17.
This is one of the very few passing zones right here. There's about 3 of them on the racetrack. I was talking to Kevin Harvick and Jeff Burton. You get up on the inside of these guys and come on.
Robbie Gordon going to get 2 in one corner as he ducked both to the inside of Stephen Light, and it looked like Michel Jourdain.
They're going to get harder and harder. The closer he gets to the front, the harder these passes are going to get.
Take that back. It was Jorge Getters he worked inside of, not Jourdain. And Carpentier will lead lap 1. Listen to the fans.
I see a little right front damage on the yellow car, the Scott Spruce car on his fender. Not that aerodynamics makes a huge difference on a road course.
So the first 6 have gotten away single file. As we watch Pappas try and get back around Scott Pruitt.
These guys are just trying to set a rhythm. Okay, how fast can I go without abusing my stuff? You know, you got to be smooth. You got to be very easy on that brake pedal.
And you can see from that onboard shot just how tight this course is. Yeah, look at that right front.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, I guess, you know, if they want to be in the back and watch all the excitement. Well, if there is excitement, there's no place to go. Look at this. You're like racing in a tunnel here.
So how much will that fender damage affect that 41 car? I don't see any smoke like it's rubbing on the tire.
No, that's right. I got spotters all across this racetrack. I think they got 4 of them. A lot of guys have 4 spotters, and they're all looking at it with their wiper blades. Looks like that's who we got in the back of his Hornaday.
Morris said a quick look inside of Ron Fellows for second spot. Said in the red 9 car, Fellows in the blue 33.
The first 6 guys have multiple laps on a road course. Here comes the Holiday Inn car.
And now here come some of the Cup guys that are way in the back. Kevin Harvick, 21. Jeff Burton, 29.
Todd Cleaver is learning a lot from these guys. He could help himself so much today by following Harvick and Burton.
Cleaver in the 16 car. So Marty, Jeff Burton got a lot of work to do today to get up front.
Indeed he does, Alan, and some folks might wonder why Burton is even here. He's not running for a Busch Series championship, and he does have the Nextel Cup Series race tomorrow. So I asked him on Thursday, what are you doing here? He said, Marty, I'm a 5th to 12th place driver in a Nextel Cup Series road course race. If I want to contend for championships, I have to get better on road courses. So he's here in a fine-tuning effort to learn lines and learn road course racing.
Nope, he's going to get a spot there.
Almirola just learned something. You don't want to do that.
Eric Almirola in the 20 car for Joe Gibbs, giving up that spot. So Jeff Burton moves up now to, that'll be the 28th place.
At the beginning of the race, Scott Pruitt's damage came from Max Pappas when Max slowed down a little bit.
I got some damage on the right rear corner of Ron Hornaday in that 77 car as well. Is that fender buckled out there?
Yes, it is. Somebody's running the back of him and shoved that forward. He's lucky he's not at Talladega.
Yeah. Michelle Jourdain working on Hornaday there. That's for 7th spot. Check that. That's for 8th spot. Robbie Gordon has just gone through both of them in the 55.
With that damage in the back of that car, somebody's got to have some damage in the front. Look out, coming in hot.
Oh, Nick Johnson in the 28. Into the back of Jourdain, into the back of Hornaday.
Oh, he's still going.
Looked like the 47 of Lally might have gotten the worst of that.
Well, he was using those other guys' brakes. He was keeping his cool.
He being Johnson in the 28.
Correct.
Yeah. High speed to low speed, about 170 miles an hour, down to about 30 at this point in the racetrack.
Well, he was going about 50. He needed to go 30.
So now Hornaday will look in his rearview mirror and be mad at Jourdain in the 17, and he wasn't even the one that caused it.
Drivers don't get mad, do they?
Yeah.
I think we just told the crew who did it, so when he gets there, he'll say hi to him.
So that has dropped Hornaday all the way back to 17th spot. This is on board Carl Edwards.
I'm not sure he's seen a whole lot. He just picked the right lane.
Andy Lally has brought the 47 car to pit road. And now let's talk pit road. Let's talk strategy here. We're at lap 3 of 74. We're only about 7 or 8 laps away from seeing scheduled pit stops.
Well, you know, that's one thing. As a race car driver, I could care less about strategy. You just tell me when you want me to pit. I'll come into pit road when you tell me. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. At the end of the day, guys could be heroes or they can make it a little tough on themselves.
Of course, on these road course races, the strategy calculated backwards from the finish, 33 laps being a good number on fuel. So you take and add a couple laps to that 74 total in case there's an overtime green-white checker finish, and you go backwards from there. We may see the first pit stops around lap 12, and if some guys want to gamble on getting a few extra caution laps that will save them fuel, you might see some of these front runners on pit road as early as lap 10. So the front 6 have broken away. Patrick Carpentier started on pole. He's leading. We are caution-free so far, but not incident-free here in Montreal. Tomorrow, the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series from Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania, ESPN, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Our coverage presented by Rush Hour 3. Tony Stewart tries for the three-peat, coming off his Indianapolis win and his win in Chicago the race before. And that great fight for the final spot in the chase for the Nextel Cup. 13 points between Earnhardt Jr. and Kurt Busch. And they start together on the front row.
Boy, that's going to be exciting. I wonder who wants the 5 bonus points the most.
Or log on to ESPN.com. Here is the race for the lead in Montreal. It is Patrick Carpentier out in front. Boris Said second. Ron Fellows third. There is Marcus Ambrose in 4th spot. And watch this pressure from Boris Said inside of Patrick Carpentier.
Ooh, he let him go. He got him, but he let him go.
When that happened, down at the far end of the racetrack from where our broadcast position is, you could hear the fans roaring from up inside our broadcast booth as their local favorite Carpentier held on to the lead over Boris.
He might not sell any many t-shirts this afternoon.
Ron Hornaday, we saw him. He's had a couple of skirmishes already on the racetrack. This was on his onboard radio just a moment ago.
On the drill right now until the 17th is done. Give me 9 times.
I guess he hasn't seen our replay yet.
No, that's right. Hopefully they tell him, you know, it really wasn't 17, but he knew that the 17 had him jacked up.
So Hornaday now has fallen back after the spin and the donut and the burnout and all the rest of that he did quite a bit in the field. He was in the top 10. He's down to 15th now. Now there's Jeff Burton. Burton has been on and off pit road already in this race.
That's right. This is a road course scenario. This is a scheduled pit stop for those guys.
Marty?
I'm not sure they're a whole lot smarter than I am.
Marty, what are they saying down there?
Indeed, it was scheduled, Alan. Burton came down pit road, as you guys said. Fuel mileage was going to be big. They went ahead and short pitted on lap 5, fuel only, and he's back out.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on Jeff Burton. Now, this lap is so long here, you can make that stop and not lose a lap.
Which is a great thing.
And by the way, for those of you watching in high definition, our onboard cameras today are not in high definition. We apologize for that.
This is the slowest corner of the racetrack right here, 30 miles an hour, heading up to the fastest part of the racetrack.
So
Jeff, maybe not.
Jeff Burton back to 31st and a new leader. Boris said it's gotten by Carpentier.
And then we heard Patrick at the beginning of the race say he might let a couple guys go to set a rhythm and see if those guys could outrun him and see where he's going to keep his brakes.
Right, he didn't want to get out and run too fast a pace and not have anything left for later on. So Boris said, leading a NASCAR Busch Series road course race for only the second time.
I do believe Boris is going to run this car pretty hard. He's one of these drivers that, number one, he wants to win a Busch Series race. He is an excellent road racer. I think he knows where failure is on all his brake systems.
Leaders coming up on the back of Morgan Shepherd in the 89 car to put a lap on. Actually, Morgan going to pit road, so he'll be out of their way. Of course, you see on the what they call the C-pillar of the race car, the post between what would be the rear. Oh, here comes Carpentier back. No room there on the outside of that corner. See, Boris is not going to be a popular guy if he outruns the local hero, but on the back panel of his car, he's got the Montreal Canadiens logo. We'll talk more about that in a minute.
Saving him.
Scott Pruitt on pit road, lap number 8, Vince.
Brad Parrott, the crew chief, was telling me that damage on the right front they did not believe was affecting the performance of the car. In fact, shortly after he'd done the damage, they had run the fastest lap on the track, but they are now trying to pull out that right fender. Even got a ball bat that they've got over there using it for leverage, and that is all they do here. No tire change, just a correction of that right front fender.
So Pruitt will rejoin. Looks like Fellows starting to put a little pressure on Carpentier for second spot here.
You know, these fabricators, these guys spend hours and hours on these fenders of these race cars. The guy just takes a ball bat to it.
Well, you drivers are the one that rearrange them first.
Yes, we do. It don't take that long.
Oh, it doesn't. All right, let's show you how Boris said got around Carpentier for the lead. Turn 10.
The lap before, Carpentier, he didn't know he was there. This time he did. He said, okay, I'll let you go.
Classic out-braking maneuver there.
Right.
And so Seth beginning to move away just a little bit as the front 5 have broken away from the rest of the field by about 6 seconds. The gap between 5th place Max Pappas in that one car kind of had a square corner there.
Yeah, he did. There's also a lot of black on that wall, so somebody hit that fence.
Update on the race leader, Vince.
It's a bit of a concern in the pit of Boris Said because they have not had any contact with Said at all on the radio. The crew chief, Mike Shiplett, says he has not said a word, so they're not 100% sure whether the radio's working or not. They're trying to communicate with him, but so far, no contact with Boris Said, and that's certainly something that could play a role as this race progresses and they start looking at pit stops.
Well, there's only 1 or 2 places that you can talk on the radio. You're very busy here. You're turning right, turning left. Oh yeah, don't forget you're shifting 18 times also.
Championship leader on pit road, Gary.
Carl Edwards, he's had a marvelous season in Busch competition. Under the watchful eye of Jack Roush, they make the routine service on this first stop. No indication if he's having any difficulties with that injured thumb. He's away cleanly.
Interesting there, they changed tires. We saw Pruitt and Jeff Burton just take fuel only on their first pit stop.
Well, you know, this is a racetrack that they say that tire wear is not that bad. But anytime you got to put fuel in, you might as well get some tires. Unless it's about 10 to go.
So when will these front runners dive onto the pit lane? couple of crew chiefs told me this morning as early as lap 12.
I think you see Marcus Ambrose, he's out of the wake, so he's trying to get more air to the front of his race car. Anytime you could stay out of the dirty air and get cooler air to your brakes, you'd be better off.
Well, Dale Jr., your car's not as pretty as it was at the start of the race. Left rear corner, Andy Pilgrim in the 88 car, wrinkled up.
One thing's lucky, hopefully the fuel will be able to still get in it. That's an issue these guys are going to have.
On his way to pit road, it'll take a second for him to get to his stall. Pilgrim told us earlier in the weekend how he got this ride.
I was out playing golf, and I got a phone call. You don't normally answer the phone when you're playing golf, right? But it was Junior, so I answered the phone, and he says, "Hey man, I want to talk to you about something. Have you got a minute?" I said, "Well, I'm just playing golf. Can I call you back?" He says, "Well, it's kind of important." And so I was like, "Yeah, sure. Okay, what is it?" And then he told me that, "Hey man, how would you feel about driving the Busch car, my Busch car, in a couple of races, the road courses?" So that's how it came up.
Andy Pilgrim, this is a first for him. He's never made a NASCAR Busch pit stop. A crinkled left fender, fuel being spilled, but that's routine. The lug nuts fly, the brake dust flies. Number 88, what a story as he leads, and we go to Marty.
Kevin Harvick just came down pit road, took 4 tires and fuel. Crew chief telling him he needs to conserve his brakes better. He said, "You're running entirely too fast to be saving brakes." Harvick down and away. Allen.
And waiting for some of the leaders to come down pit road for the first of their pit stops today. Kevin Harvick rejoining.
Well, that's so hard to discipline yourself to save your brakes. I mean, when you're sitting in that car, the guys are in front of you, you just want to pass them. And you say, okay, I can't pass them because I can't use up my brakes. But you don't want to be the first one to have a failure, but you want to go as hard as you could.
And watch that car bounce over those curbs. Race leader on pit road at lap number 11. So Boris said giving up the top spot to make his pit stop here. Vince?
Boris said coming in with his initial pit stop, he's going to take just 4 tires and fuel. They're not going to make any changes, and they do now say that they have had radio communication with Boris, so that has not been an issue as you see the crew go over the wall. Again, 4 tires and fuel. We've had a couple of cars that have come in on this initial stop, including Ron Hornaday, that did not take on tires, but that will not be the case for the 9 car.
And so with Boris pitting, that hands the lead over to Ron Fellows, who has gotten around Patrick Carpentier, and Fellows is the leader pending his pit stop. So there's Ron in the Kevin Harvick Incorporated 33.
The pace has slowed down from qualifying about 2 seconds. So these guys are pacing themselves somewhat.
David Ruderman has been on and off pit road. Jorge Getters has been on and off pit road as well. And the front 4 in the race there running nose to tail with the 1-lap car in the middle. We'll see if any of them peel off this time and head for the pit lane.
You can see Marcus Ambrose is waving, so I think he'll be coming in.
Yep.
Or he's just trying to get a little air. I mean, I know one time at Talladega I was following Dale Earnhardt and Kenny Schrader, and I was wondering why they had their hand out the window, and finally I realized I was sweating a whole lot. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I put my hand out the window and I put my whole arm out and I come about take my gas cap off. I took it out a little too far.
At 190 miles an hour? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Marcus Ambrose out of the lead group to his pit stall, Gary.
2-time Australian supercar champion with a brand new race car. Very excited about it this weekend. And he has been saying all along, keep an eye on us. He's been under the radar a little bit, but he has been a contender. Let's take a look now at his pit stop. We're anticipating routine service.
One thing I happen to see here, when they hit the lugs on the left front, a lot of brake dust. It'll be very interesting to see what happens here.
Tremendous amount of brake dust, Randy. We've seen that repeatedly on these cars in.
Greg Biffle down pit road in his stall now. 4 tires and fuel. Biffle is surging rapidly through the field. Started in the rear after missing qualifying today, but he had gotten to 16th under green, and now he was 10th coming in for this pit stop. He's down and away.
Troubles on the front tires there on the pit stop.
If we get a chance, we need to see his signboard. He's supposed to have a trick signboard out this week.
Yeah. Robbie Gordon has been on and off pit road. That's Kyle Krisloff following Biffle off the pit lane.
These guys have to be very careful when they leave pit lane here. There's a white line. You cannot go underneath that white line. They want you to blend. That's a blend line. They want you to stay above that. It's probably not a bad thing because some of these guys are using it all up if they're even on the racetrack.
So Ron Fellows, the race leader, and Patrick Carpentier, the second place car, not yet coming to pit road. Max Pappas, Nick Janssen, Stephen Light, they have not pitted. I think interesting on the racetrack is that Scott Pruitt is out ahead of Boris Said for the cars who have stopped already. We'll see how that plays here in a second when this cycle of pit stops comes through.
Here you have team cars. You got Ron Hornaday and you got Ron Fellows here, and there's two different pit strategies.
Yeah, Hornaday and of course, at that point, Hornaday has spun around and drop kick back a little bit. This Fellows putting a lap on Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 35 car. This racetrack means so much to Ron Fellows. Has had success here in his professional racing career. Calls the man for whom the circuit is named one of his racing heroes, Gilles Villeneuve. And while a lot of the French-speaking Canadians would like to see Patrick Carpentier a winner, no doubt they take great pride as well in the Toronto area native Ron Fellows if he is able to take the victory today. The two Canadians in the top two spots. Does he pit here? Coming to the entrance of pit road. And yes, for Fellows.
These guys have got to be very careful, like you said earlier. 30 miles an hour pit road speed. These guys have to be very, very careful.
So Carpentier back out in front, and Fellows heading to his stall. Gary?
Come on, all the last time with the orange 33, all the way down. 4 tires and gas, be about a can and a half of gas.
Well, there you get the information from the crew on the radio. The last time he ran this circuit, 1989, it was a production Camaro. Here he is now in the 2007 Camping World Chevy for his first service. Let's see how well they can execute. Right side's done, left side being jacked up. Everything looks good at this point for Ron Fellows. They say get him on out of here.
3600, all clear, 3600.
So that puts the lead back in the hands of Patrick Carpentier, who started on pole, has yet to make a pit stop. We're early in the going in Montreal.
You're looking at Patrick Carpentier, and he is the native son and the fan favorite here in Montreal for this Busch Series event, making his first pit stop of the day. They've been reminding him, because he's certainly not a veteran of the NASCAR Busch Series, that keep it at 3,500 RPM in first gear. They don't want to get a pit lane speed violation. You see the crew over the wall. That's going to be 4 tires in fuel only. No need for a chassis adjustment. The car is working perfectly. They're encouraging him just ride along and be patient. It's been a good stop so far for Carpentier as they work on the left side tires, and away goes the 22.
So that hands the lead to Nick Janssen, the veteran of the road racing circuits, who is out in front now in the 28 car for Jay Robinson Racing.
One of the things I noticed out on all the pit stops, 2 guys' brakes that had the least amount of brake dust on them, Ron Fellows and Patrick Carpentier.
Might be worth something to him later in the race.
Yes, it will.
So Carpentier rejoins. Janssen is the leader. There he comes in the 28 car. He's first. Stephen Light is second. Those 2 cars have not pitted yet. Then things will cycle back around to the guys who have made pit stops already. Keep an eye on this 28 car and then the 90 as well to see when they hit the pit lane.
Well, I think if the 28 ever catches the 77 somewhere today, Fellows, Hornaday's going to say, hey, how you doing?
David Rudem in 99, Jeff Burton 29, fighting pretty hard for a spot. That is 16th and 17th.
This is an area that Jeff was telling me that it's very hard to see where you're going. He has a spot under David, but then again, the next corner, David has a spot.
You race side by side for too long, you're just losing time. So Rudem gets away there, and Burton moves through. And that puts Burton up to 16th place. Here comes Jorge Getters inside of Rudem. And Greg Biffle as well in the 37. Wow.
That was close.
Yeah. He's got the goalie in his pit. I resisted the glove saving a beauty line there. Come on. Second place is in on pit road, Vince.
That's Stephen Like. He's just 20 years old, the youngest winner on the Busch Series this year. He won at Kentucky, and they're going to change all 4 tires and give it fuel. But again, no chassis adjustment. They're very happy with the car for Stephen Like.
Tell you what, he did a very nice job in qualifying.
Yes, he did.
Started in 9th spot today.
Him and Marcus Ambrose are the flagship guys. Uh-oh, the list missing one.
Is that the 90 pit? So Light will, it is the 90 pit, so Light will be making a return visit to pit road. They can't afford mistakes.
It's so important here not to make a mistake. But one good thing is on a road course, it's going to, if they do happen to have the lucky dog or a yellow, he will get it back. He did lose a lot of track position, but then again,
Bring the 90 back in.
Jason Leffler just gave up a lot of ground there.
Maybe he's saving his stuff. He's felt.
Well, he had to start at the back, remember? They're in the back of the car.
You got to pit this time. Left the lug nut off left front.
All right, that's Stephen Light's radio. Here is the race leader, Nick Janssen, on pit road for his stop, lap 17. He will be the last of the lead lap cars to come to the pit lane. Vince?
That's Nicholas Janssen. He's from Sweden, and he has been impressive here this weekend. He's done a nice job at adapting to these big cars. He is a veteran of the sports car series, and you see they're having a little trouble there on the left side, but finally get it off. They're going to get 4 tires and fuel here as well, and no chassis adjustment expected on the 28 either.
Looks like the car fell off the jack when they tried to get it going on the right side. So not the smoothest of pit stops in the world for Janssen. So after the cycle of pit stops, check this out. Scott Pruitt comes out ahead of Boris Said, and Pruitt is the race leader.
Well, he also pitted earlier, which means his stop was a little quicker than everybody else's.
Pruitt stopped at lap 8. Boris Said didn't stop till lap 11. Pruitt took fuel only. Said took tires. So the strategy call by Pruitt's crew chief Brad Parrott, they spent less time taking fuel by stopping earlier, and they didn't get tires, has gotten him track position, and he's out front.
We'll see how much tires do make a difference, because if Boris has tires, he's going to go get them.
So your new top 5, Scott Pruitt, Boris Said, Marcus Ambrose, Ron Fellows, and Patrick Carpentier here in Montreal. Fallen back to 6th place. He started on the outside of the front row. He basically fell back to 6th on the opening corner of the race, and had this little conversation with his crew chief Chuck Myers a few minutes ago.
The guys in the front are pushing quite hard. I think they're going to run out of brake. I need to back off a bit.
10-4, Max. You're in control of that there, buddy. Just relax on it. You're in 5th position right now. We can run anywhere from there. So just make sure you're saving your stuff. Let them run away.
He's in control of it. For more technical information, log on to ESPN.com. Search word know-how.
Well, the crew chief put the ball back in his court. But okay, you're in control of your brake pedal. You do what you want to do. You think those guys are getting away from you using too much brake? You put it back in your foot. Boy, these guys are right up on it.
Gotta love it. Isn't that nice? Scott Pruitt, Boris Said, Marcus Ambrose. Top 3 Ambrose with a peek inside of Boris Said for 2nd spot.
He's there.
Got him. Well, I talked to Ambrose here on Thursday. They had a full day of testing here at the racetrack on Thursday. And I talked to Ambrose during the break between the morning and afternoon sessions, and he had this huge smile on his face. Okay, that's not unusual for Marcus, because that's his natural state of being. but he said, you know, his background is road racing. The Australian V8 Supercar Series is a road racing series. And he said, now I'm back where I feel like I'm more on even terms. The oval tracks, I'm learning oval track racing still, but this kind of racing, I'm back on equal terms with these guys, and he's showing it today.
All weekend. He's been fast all weekend long. Did they get guys go to the new race car over there? Boy, it's doing well.
So the Aussie up to second spot now, behind Scott Pruitt. Of course, Marcus Ambrose, in his first full season of the NASCAR Busch Series, ran a partial schedule in the Craftsman Truck Series last year, and has told us on a couple of different occasions this year that he is loving racing and life in the United States.
Everything's brand new, it's exciting, it's fresh, you know, it's exactly what I came to America and to race NASCAR. It's been everything and more than I could have hoped for. So every day is just a surprise. I'm just happy to be around. The season's gone great for us. We've got a great sponsor who really looks after me. They know I'm a rookie out there on the racetrack and they expect to have issues along the way. So if I have a good day or a bad day, they're still wrapped and I'm wrapped with them. So I mean, it's just been a great combination.
Ambrose with 27 wins in 2 championship seasons in the Australian V8 Supercar Series. Imagine being on top like that and coming over here and starting at the bottom again as a raw rookie.
Well, you know, anytime you play to your strengths, and this is one of his strengths, is road course racing. So he's here. He's doing a great job. I think he's sitting like 8th or 9th in points. So that team is very good. And today he's playing to his strengths. He has to make great advantages to his great drive here today.
He is 10th in points, to be specific, entering this race today. Lap car in between the top two now, the second and third place cars rather. And this could be where it gets a little dicey for some of these front runners because, I mean, look how tight those walls are to the racetrack.
That's right. Not many of these guys are going to give you a whole lot of room in different braking zones. As you see fellows coming up on the outside. There's some guys looking, wow.
Oh.
Thread the needle there, Ron.
10 car being driven by John Graham, a Canadian who hopes to run the full NASCAR Busch Series next season. Driving that car that is normally driven by Dave Blaney here this weekend. And you see Patrick Carpentier, after his pit stop, falling back to 5th position. Remember, they were the last, one of the last of the lead cars to make their stops, pitting at lap 16.
They're just keeping the leaders in sight. They can see them. They can run with them. They're controlling their destiny. They know how much brake to use and what they can and cannot do.
But for Carpentier, you know, you talk about they know how much brake to use, but this car is totally different to him.
Yeah, it's 3 times as heavy normally than his open wheel car. And maybe that's why he's jumped in behind fellows. He's like, okay, this guy is a road racing expert in big cars. I'm going to run him and get his rhythm and see if I can do the same thing.
That's not a bad thought.
No.
You want to follow somebody around a road course, Ron Fellows is a pretty good guy to learn from. Right now, those two running 4th and 5th. Scott Pruitt, the race leader, 23 of 74 laps complete at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. NASCAR Busch Series for the first time, racing at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, constructed in 1978 on a man-made island in the middle of the St. Lawrence River. The island originally built in the mid-60s for the 67 World's Fair. They held the first race here in September of 1978, and the first Grand Prix held here, won by Canadian Gilles Villeneuve in October of that year. Of course, for the NASCAR weekend this weekend, packed full of race fans, and here he is, the race for the lead. Scott Pruitt in the 41 car, out in front, got that lead on an exchange of pit stops. His team playing a strategy that got him track position, and Marcus Ambrose chasing him in second. And Carl Edwards, the championship leader, is on pit road. This an unscheduled or scheduled stop, Gary?
I'm told that it is scheduled, but he also had a message from NASCAR. They told him to stay on the pavement. They told the NASCAR official that it was one of those incidents that just happened. It was not intentional. Apparently they're letting him skate at this time. But this has taken a long time. There's a sign from the other side of the car. They've got some kind of a significant problem.
Yeah, those wrenches out.
Just waiting on fuel, possibly.
All right, let's see. Here's what happened to Carl. Whoops.
Shortcut.
Now, obviously, the troubles are more extensive than that. We'll let Gary find out what's going on there and then check back with him in a moment. But the championship leader here in Montreal on pit road, just 25 laps into the race. Pressure.
Here it comes, the Tasmanian Devil.
Yeah. Marcus Ambrose, originally from Tasmania, given that nickname back in Australia.
It's going to be so interesting to see if these guys are saving their stuff. Marcus wants to lead. He wants to lead a NASCAR event.
Working their way through some lap traffic now. Coming down to that long. Oh. Is that from David Reagan's car, Marty?
Yeah, Alan, we're here in the 6th pit. You can see this tire is absolutely shredded. Reagan came on the radio, said he made contact with someone, he's uncertain who, and that cut down that left rear tire, forced him to make an unscheduled pit stop, puts him even further behind. This thing is done.
They do need air. That's the one thing that I do know as a race car driver. Those tires need air.
Yeah. I thought that corner that the leaders just went through might be the place where Ambrose might take a shot at Pruitt. That's one of the heavy braking areas, but it looks like Pruitt actually gapped him a little bit.
It's going to be very interesting to see, Alan. This is the most laps that these guys have put together. Normally these guys only run about 8 or 10 laps for 2 days. These guys are getting fatigued. These guys are sweating. The brakes are heating up. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 10 laps.
Carl Edwards has gone behind the wall. Gary, what happened?
Well, I'm not sure because I just asked Jack Rouse. I climbed up on the stand and said, what's the problem? And he said, I don't know. They fired the engine. He turned it around. They've taken it behind the garage. We'll see what we can learn now as they work behind the garage area.
Well, the Richard Children's team's liking this. They said, well, we're gaining some owners points on them here.
That was Jason Leffler off the pace that the leaders went by. As Ambrose, it looks like on the backside of the course, puts a lot of pressure on Scott Pruitt. And we'll see if Pruitt can get away from him again as they come to the big hairpin turn, or if that's where Ambrose tries to pounce. Scott Pruitt getting all kinds of pressure here. Is Ambrose going to try him for the lead? Here he is, inside. Nice move, Marcus Ambrose.
I do believe Scott cut him some slack. He didn't see a star on the hood, so he knew he wasn't going to get hit. But this is great. It's probably the first race Marcus has led all year.
Well, one thing Pruitt has been preaching here all weekend, he said patience was going to be a key word for this race.
When you get down to the end, a lot of people are going to make mistakes. And hopefully you're the driver or the team that has made the least amount of mistakes, because everybody's going to make mistakes. And hopefully you're that team that has made the least amount of mistakes, has yourself in a real good position and a good strong car to go race that last 10 laps or that last 5 laps for the checkered flag and potentially for the win. So patience would be a big piece of, at least as I see coming into this weekend, being smart, taking care of your car, taking care of your brakes, and waiting for the moment that really counts, which is only that last lap in racing.
There you go, the top 4, the patience. Boy, it is so hard to discipline yourself to do this, especially road racing on a course that is this hard.
So Marcus Ambrose now the race leader. Vince?
No panic, certainly, out of the Juicy Fruit stall, the 41 car of Scott Pruitt and the crew chief Brad Parrott. They know that they're a long way from this race being over, and they were not going to battle Marcus Ambrose for that spot when Ambrose was obviously quicker. So as you saw, Pruitt let him go through. They're riding along patiently. Pruitt had that early right fender damage, but they knocked that out on that first stop, and since has not been complaining about the handling of the car at all. So just riding along in the 41, being patient, as Randy suggested.
And Vince, you know something else I'm thinking of too. Remember that Pruitt did not take tires on his pit stop, and Ambrose did. So that may have something to do with this speed differential as well. Carl Edwards out of his car. Gary Gerald's with him.
Actually, he still sits in the seat, but we'll find out what happened. Carl, you're talking about a track arm breaking. Is that the problem?
Yeah, it's a truck arm. One of the rear truck arms that locates the rear end. The bracket broke off of the chassis. It was dragging the curbs in practice, and we talked about it, but I guess we should have taken bigger note and gusseted that thing up. But this is having a blast out there. The race was going great. They just need more Miracle Grow grass and less of those curbs. This place will be perfect.
We'll see if we can get them to work on that. That's the story from the 60 car, guys.
Well, we watched the practice. The 29 car had to replace his back track bar mount. Was bent. And then if Carl said those truck arm brackets were hitting the racetrack, those are in the middle of the race car. That means he had half the car off the facility. So maybe he could take a little bit of that problem.
Those are not small curves they're bouncing over on some of the corners. So
that's for sure.
You straddle the race car with those and start running the suspension pieces up and over that curbing, and things can break.
Yes, they do.
Little race here for third and fourth. Boris Said in the 9, Ron Fellows in the 33. Carpentier is falling back off of Fellows. Remember, he was right on his bumper before. Here's Fellows inside. And through.
Ron Fellows, you can still see a little bit of shine on his front brakes. I think he is still one of the best ones on the brakes.
So Fellows up to third, Boris Said back to fourth. They're all chasing Marcus Ambrose, the Aussie, leading in Montreal. Montreal is brought to you by Allstate, the official insurance sponsor of NASCAR. And Castrol Synthetic for maximum power. Great cars want more than just oil. Give them Castrol Syntec. Caution is out for the first time in this race, remarkably at lap 30.
I would have never thought it was going to take that long. After driving around this course, I would have figured in the top 5 laps we were going to have a wreck.
So first full course yellow, the 98 car was smoking on the racetrack. Alex Garcia perhaps dropped some oil, so that is the reason for the caution. Kyle Krisloff will get the free pass and come around and get back on the lead lap. So Krisloff, the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass, first driver a lap down, and now he gets back in the running with the front runners. So now the caution's out at lap 30. You're about 9-10 laps away from the pit window opening up to make it to the finish. Do you stop?
It depends on what their strategy is. This is not a standard strategy race, so I'm going to have to wait and see because I'm not going to make a call on this one.
It's a tough call. The conventional thinking on road courses these days is caution flags don't impact your pit stops. You stay on the racetrack, you keep your track position, and you stop when you planned to stop. You just stick with the plan. But lap times and tires and that kind of thing, it can affect that thinking as the day goes on for a crew chief. Checking out Ron Hornaday here, running in 14th spot just before the caution flag waved. This came across his radio.
Pretty good. I'm just saving the brakes, Wally. The pedal went down about an inch, pump above, so I just got a little bit of air in the front. They're not glazed over anything.
All right, 10-4, just keep doing what you're doing.
You know what? He just says they're not glazed over. And when they do get glazed over, that's not a lot of fun. You lose all your grip. He said you can feel air in the lines, and this caution's going to help. I'm not sure how much they're going to cool, but you can feel the air in the line. He said the pedal went down an inch. He has to pump them, but they're not glazed, which means they still have all the grip that they should have. When you push that pedal down, you're slowing down.
And the leader is going to make a pit stop here. Pruitt's in, Boris Said is in. Check that, the leader stayed out, Ambrose stayed out, but Pruitt and Said came in. Fellows stayed out, Carpentier stayed out. Vince?
Well, the 41 car of Scott Pruitt is on its way in, as you noted, and there's been a big discussion in this pit as to what kind of strategy they would use in regards to tires and fuel combination, but they did not take on tires the first pit stop, so they're definitely taking on the 4 tires here during this stop and fuel, but they had conversation about how much fuel and how many tires they were going to take just for track position. But they are in pretty good position as far as the handling of the car is concerned, and they're happy with the 41 at this point. Marty?
Kevin Harvick in and gone, Vince. However, they did go up one round on the track bar, 4 tires and fuel. Now, Harvick, we talked about the brakes earlier, how he might have been wearing them out. He has changed his driving style, taking it much easier now, and he is ascending through the field quite rapidly. Comes in 12th, going to the front.
We've seen earlier, Alan, the 28 car fell off the jack. You know, you have to do a lot in the pit stop. People don't think that the drivers are that kind of busy, but he let off the brake pedal, he rolled the thing forward. Not only do you have to get to your pit stall, which is very hard to do. Sometimes you can't see your side. Once you get in that pit stall, you got to straighten the wheels out. You put it in neutral, under yellow.
Under yellow, Stephen Wallace has found the barrier somehow. That is right at pit exit. And I had Stephen as just coming off pit road there.
It looks like he's got a leak underneath that race car. I see some smoke and some fluid coming out from right about in the center, that last shot. Stop! Okay, I stopped.
I mean, that was literally at pit exit, and he just came off the pit lane, so I'm not sure about that one.
If we continue this shot, you can see some fluid leaking when he gets back on the racetrack.
But the car, I mean, it's dry behind the car there as he comes across.
He just took about 20% of air out of his left front brake cooling system.
That is not a happy camper. Carl Edwards watching his crew work on his car, the championship leader behind the wall in Montreal as we approach halfway.
Good. I mean, we're just, Ambrose wanted to run harder than I wanted to. I think it's a bit of conserving the brakes, taking care of that. So that was a big focus. And otherwise, we're just playing it the way we wanted to. Had a little bit of a miscue, I think, on that pit stop, but everything else going good.
Okay, thank you, and have a good end of the race here.
And Brad Parrott, the crew chief. Let's check in with him.
Brad, Randy LaJoie, pit strategy, what do you got for us?
Hey, Randy. Well, the Juicy Fruit Dodge is running awesome today, and Scott Pruitt's doing a great job driving this thing. And, you know, my pit strategy backfired on me there. I pitted to lap 8, first car on pit road, and no cautions hurt me a little bit. We got a car that can drive back to the front. You know, all those guys in front of us still have to pit another time. We'll see what happens here. I'm going to pit one more time, but we'll see what I do.
Okay, looks like you guys got it under control. Good luck.
Thank you. I just want to know, you got plenty of Juicy Fruit up there?
They don't hesitate, but Mom told me never speak with my mouth full, so.
This is true.
There you go. Hey, here's what I think they're up to. You and I were talking about this during commercial. Pruitt just took his tires under the, as you see, Michael Valiante, his teammate, has had some problems on the course as well. But Pruitt, when the window opens around lap 40, 42, he's got reasonably fresh tires on the car. He's going to stop, just take on some fuel and go, when these other guys that didn't pit, like Ambrose, Fellows, and Carpentier, are going to have to stop for a full load of fuel and tires.
They'll get the track position back.
Yeah, we'll see.
And they know what the tires, they're going over their tires now. Yep. They're scraping them, they're checking wear. They already run 30 laps, so when we go back to green, you know, they're going to have they're going to have one more stop, he said, for fuel. Well, you might be right. He might not put any more tires on that thing.
Yeah, that might be what happens. Let's get some updates on what's going on, strategy, car, driver-wise. Gary, want to talk about the leader?
Yeah, Marcus Ambrose, number 59, likes the way the car is working. They say that they can get the lap 42. That would be put them in the window to go the rest of the distance. So that's the strategy that they're playing out. It's a similar strategy being played out by the 33 car, Ron Fellows. They said when this yellow came out, they were 12 laps from the regular stop. They would then be able to go the rest of the way without incident. And here's one of the most unusual reports of the day from the 88 car and Andy Pilgrim. Remember now, here's a native of England, a U.S. citizen for the past 10 years. He radios in and says, guys, I almost hit a beaver. Now, I don't know if it was a beaver or if it was one of these giant woodchucks or whatever we see out here on the island, but that's an unusual one.
Yeah, but we have seen some critters on the course from time to time throughout the weekend. There's Andy Pilgrim cycling up to 6th position. We talked earlier about Andy Pilgrim and the fact that he's in Dale Jr.'s 88 car, story that goes back to 2001, and Dale Jr. brings us his side of the tale.
Well, it wasn't really a promise. I know it was an interest of my father's that he would like to have seen Andy, you know, because everybody else was doing it, Ron and Boris and those guys, and he was interested to see what Andy would do in the car. So we had a window of opportunity when we changed our drivers into Busch car with Huffman going out and Keselowski coming in, so we decided to do it.
So Dale Earnhardt Jr. putting Andy Pilgrim in the car out of a friendship that was born back in 2001 when Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his father teamed with Andy Pilgrim to run a factory Chevrolet Corvette in the 24 Hours of Daytona. They finished well, finished on the podium in their class. There they are. The Earnhardts along with Pilgrim, and I believe Kelly Collins was the 4th driver that day. And of course, Dale Earnhardt Sr. was tragically killed just weeks later in that crash on the last lap of the Daytona 500. But Earnhardt Jr. putting Pilgrim in his car here for this race and as well as next week at Watkins Glen. Just about halfway through this race, if you're just joining us, let's show you what's happened in the first half so far. Patrick Carpentier led the field to the green flag, the Quebec native winning the pole earlier today. It's not been without incidents, even though the race was without caution flags earlier, but a fairly clean start. Boris Ed jumping up to take the lead away from Carpentier. That was the first lead change of the race at lap 6. And then Carl Edwards into some trouble.
Off course, and he broke the mount that holds the rear end in the car. The truck arm mount, it broke. They're in there trying to fix it. So they got welders out trying to fix that thing.
So that's the majority of the happenings in the first part of the race. A little pitch stop shuffle here. And Marcus Ambrose leads the field back to the green flag. First car off pit road after the stops. Boris Shed, and he is back in 12th spot. Contact back there.
28, he must have like a push bar in the front of that car.
These guys, Boris said. Whoop, that's Jorge Getter's off course.
He had a little help. They didn't have him kind of run out of room.
Lost a couple spots in the process. Boris said Scott Pruitt trying to come back up through the traffic. And all these guys in front of them on the track, guys who did not pit under the caution. Eric Almirola, a little grass in the works.
We interviewed him during practice the other day, and he said, I'm learning every lap. I might not get this right away.
Look at the big jam there under the heavy braking. Robbie Gordon trying to slide to the inside of Max Pappas for a spot.
Robbie's been very patient in this race, it seems like, so far.
Pappas slammed the door shut. Ambrose leads, Fellows is second, Carpentier third, Pappas fourth, Gordon fifth, then Andy Pilgrim is sixth, then Boris Said, the first of the cars who just stopped under that last caution. So Boris has already picked off 5 guys in a lap since the restart.
I wonder how many drafting partners. Biffle and Harvick, those guys are just kind of hanging out, just saving their stuff.
Drafting partners. Help me out here. We're not at Daytona.
Oh, we're not? Okay. Well, look at that. Max just had one. That was bump drafting.
Okay, thank you. Robert's got a little wrinkle in the front grill from it, too. See that?
Yep.
Surprised Robbie Gordon hasn't been closer to the lead all day.
Yeah, no, I would have figured he was going to be very exciting at the front of this, but I think he realizes this place is a lot. Full
Caution's out, full course yellow. Number 2 comes out at lap 35. And Carl Edwards has just come from the garage and rejoined the race. That is Stephen Wallace off of turn number 10. And we believe that car has dropped some oil, and that is the reason for the second caution of the race.
If I had to guess, he lost oil when he come out of the grass earlier, it looked like. And those products do need oil, whether it's the transmission or the rear end. And obviously, it did run out and it broke.
So you're thinking that was a continuation?
Yes.
So the yellow's out now, lap 35. Pit stops here, boy, I don't know. I don't think so.
42 was a number we heard.
Yep. And the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass under this caution goes to Eric Almirola in the 20, so he will come back around and rejoin the lead group. Almirola, the first car lap down, in 22nd place. So full course caution for the second time, Marcus Ambrose, the race leader here in Montreal. Coming up next after NASCAR X Games 13 from Los Angeles, there's a connection to today's race. And the X Games, that red number 9 car, the man behind the wheel, Boris said he is going to be in the X Games out in LA tomorrow.
I'm doing the X Games. I mean, I think it's the coolest thing in the world. They called me and invited me a few weeks ago, and I'm like, in what? Well, in rallying. Have you ever rallied? I'm like, nope, but I love rallying. I'm a big rally fan. The only thing I'm a little nervous about is there's a 70-foot jump, ramp to ramp. I think about half the guys, ripped the radiators off their cars the first time they did it. And for me, if everything goes perfect, my first time I'll see it is Sunday morning, so hopefully I get to do it.
Morris is telling me he's going to leave Montreal, private plane tonight to Washington, D.C. to catch a commercial flight to Los Angeles to get there, get in this car tomorrow, and do this 70-foot jump that everybody else has been practicing for a couple days. He said the only time I've been in the car, I drove it in the parking lot at California Speedway the other day.
Hopefully he brings his odds to him.
Yeah. Full course caution out here in Montreal, second time today. This would be the reason why. That's not good. That looks expensive.
Yeah, anytime you see smoke coming out from underneath one of these cars, it's not a cheap sight.
So Stephen Wallace out of his race car and is with Vince.
Step in with Stephen Wallace here. What's the determination here under the hood?
Well, the determination under the hood is the motor ran out of water and burned up and then blew up. I think Home Life Communities Dodge really fast today. There at the start of the race, I missed a chicane, stopped, didn't gain any positions, and passed anybody, and then NASCAR decided just decided to penalize me. They said if you didn't pass anybody, there was no problem, but I guess they thought different. But we fought back from 35th all the way up to top 15 there. They were calling times out. That was as fast as leaders. A couple tenths off of them. So our car was really fast. It's just man. I'd do anything in the world to buy some luck right now. I'm about the most unluckiest person, I think, on the face of the planet besides being able to race a race car every weekend. But it's just nothing goes my way. The motor blows up, get in a wreck, catch on fire, flip 25 times or something like that, So we'll go get him next week.
Yep, he'll keep digging. Stephen Wallace in the 66.
And for more on safety, log on to ESPN.com, search words safety. Some of the safety equipment there. Going to take a break. We'll be back, hopefully under full green flag conditions in Montreal. Second time of the day after Stephen Wallace oiled down the racetrack and has caused a little bit of cleanup to need to be done. Marcus Ambrose is out in front, took the lead from Scott Pruitt with a nice inside under-braking move. Pruitt had no choice but to give way, or the both of them were probably going to crash. And that is our Castrol Syndec Power Performance Pass of the race. So Ambrose the leader, Fellows second, Carpentier third, Pappas fourth, Robbie Gordon fifth. And then Andy Pilgrim is sixth. Boris Said is the first of the cars who stopped under the other caution back at lap 30. And he is up to the seventh spot. And there's Jeff Burton, one of the Nextel Cup drivers, doing the shuffle today between Pocono and back up to Montreal. Burton now running back in 16th position after starting at the tail end of the field. Knowing you were going to have to start out the back and how tough it was going to make the win, Jeff, what are you doing here?
I've been about a 4th to 10th place driver on road courses. The only way to get better is to do it more. This is an opportunity to to drive for a really good team, drive the Holiday Inn Chevrolet, and get some experience. So to me, it's a win-win.
Laps help so much, especially at a new facility. But next week they're going straight to Watkins Glen. So it gets your feet got to do a special dance, your hands right, left. So anytime you can road race, it helps you for the following week, for the following event.
Nextel Cup Series, along with the NASCAR Busch Series on the Watkins Glen, New York road course next Saturday and Sunday. And of course qualifying next Friday afternoon for the Nextel Cup cars. So Burton right now back in 15th spot. There's Jeff at the office. We'll have the flight back to Pennsylvania tonight, and we'll get ready to go tomorrow in the 500 mile there at Pocono Raceway. Burton's going to start in 18th position in that race. And of course you can see our coverage from Pocono, presented by Rush Hour 3 tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, starting with NASCAR Countdown. Got Tony Stewart going for the three-peat. Got Dale Jr. and Kurt Busch in the tight fight for that last spot in the chase standings. And they're sharing the front row for tomorrow's race. 1 o'clock Eastern, ESPN tomorrow. For more, log on to ESPN.com. So more than a little bit of oil dry put down there on that straightaway leading from the hairpin up to the pit entrance. You see the cleanup going through there.
Thought it was snowing.
Well, that wouldn't be unexpected here in Montreal, but in August it might be a reach.
Okay.
So what's the pit strategy for the race leader? Didn't stop under this caution, Gary.
No. Ernie Cope calls the shots and talks to Marcus Ambrose. What is your strategy at this point, Ernie?
Well, we're going to stop one more time. We're not quite to our fuel window yet. We're getting close. This long caution's actually hurting us. It's going to make us have to make a decision here, but if they hurry up and go green 2 laps, which it looks like we're not, so I'm not sure what we're going to do. We're going to see how many laps we go green. They go yellow.
All right, how satisfied are you with the performance of this Tasmanian-Australian driver?
Oh, I'm very satisfied. He's an awesome road racer. We're having fun, and he's taking care of the car. He says he's not abusing the brakes, so hopefully it's there at the end.
And of course, we still got a long way to go and a lot of brakes to protect. Thanks. Vince?
With Paul Wolf, the crew chief for Patrick Carpentier, our pole sitter, currently running third. What advice are you giving him here as we just passed the midway point?
Just trying to keep good communication with him, you know, kind of where the balance of the car is, and really just in a riding mode right now. As key as brakes are here, we're just trying to keep something there for the end. We know the car's got speed in it, but we need to be there at the end to have a shot at it. So just trying to keep him calm in the car, keep all 4 tires on the track, and keep some brakes there for the end.
Marty?
Alan, I'm here with Shane Wilson, crew chief for Kevin Harvick, currently running 13th. You guys have been discussing some fuel strategy on the radio. How do these cautions affect your strategy moving forward?
You know, it definitely kind of plays into our hand, or at least helps us a little bit. We put on tires that last caution, and you know, we're expecting just to take fuel here on our last stop, which is with these cautions will probably be before we go back to green.
Just how tight are you cutting it?
Oh, you know, it's very tight, but we don't quite have the speed to win probably today, so we're gonna have to take a little chance to get them up front. And I think our speed will pick up the closer we get to the front, so we'll just see how it goes.
A man conceding victory. I'm not sure I believe it. Alan?
Yeah, but you never know what kind of strategy will play out here that might just work. So it kind of goes back to what I was talking about before with Pruitt and that 41 car. They took their tires onto the yellow earlier, so now when we do see them on pit road, probably no tires, and they're going to run what they've got on the car now to the finish.
Another thing he said is, you know, they're probably going to get quicker as they get closer to the front. That's what happens when you dangle that banana out there in front of that race car driver. You can see that front of the field, you just keep getting it faster and faster.
Vince, want to chime in here?
Yeah, on the conversation you're having about the 41 car and Scott Pruitt, and when they took those tires off, they were in pretty good shape, and I'll tell you what, their crew was very excited about the fact that they would be able to run to the finish on the tires they have and just take fuel on that last stop. So you're right on the money with that strategy, Alan.
Got to be interesting to see when the green flag waves, we get back to racing and those pit stops start happening, which is going to be fairly soon in just a few more laps. Our aerial coverage today brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Back to Montreal in a minute. Back at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, pit road has just been opened. The leader is in at lap 39. Marty?
Alan, I'm here in Jeff Burton's pit. He is going to top off fuel and go to the end. They feel like their race car is running really well right now. He's just biding his time, but they are ready to go all the way to the end after this pit stop. Gary?
We've got Marcos Ambrose in. You've got a traffic jam. Runfellow's dived in front of him. Pruitt goes by on the outside. His pits are way on down. Watching the service for Ambrose here. And Vince, it is wild. Ambrose is away, followed by Fellows.
Scott Pruitt's taking on fuel, and there's a near collision with Michel Jourdain as he exits the pit lane. No tires for Pruitt, just fuel, and they banged out that right front fender damage as well.
So some strategy played here as these teams pull their car to pit road on lap 39. So that's 35 laps to go, and 33 was the number we heard from most of the teams as their limit on fuel. And don't forget, there's always the possibility of a green-white checker overtime at the end of this thing too.
I'm sure these guys are hoping for a caution, at least one more. Hopefully it won't be as long as this one with the Major League cleanup.
Marty.
The numbers 99 and 37 teams just came in as well, guys, and they are cutting it very close. They feel they can make it to the end if we only go the scheduled distance. Green-white checker, those boys are done.
All right, so the plot thickens. Patrick Carpentier and Boris Said did not stop. They take over the top two spots, still under caution in Montreal. The NASCAR Busch Series racing at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal for the first time. Coming to the green flag here, Marcos Ambrose, who led before the pit stops, will restart in 11th spot. Gary?
He lost some ground, no question about that, on that pit stop in an amazing traffic jam down here, and there's concern from Ernie Cope about the fact that they do not have enough fuel. He says we are 3 laps short from going the distance. So they gambled, they came in, but they still need another yellow.
It's going to be interesting.
Won. Yes, they have. Road courses sometimes have been won on fuel mileage, and RCR teams are betting on it right now.
Yeah, just understand that right here, these two cars, Kevin Harvick and Jeff Burton, they were the first off of pit road after those stops. Everybody in front of them did not pit under this caution and will have to stop again before the checkered flag. Carpentier leads. Boris Said second. Nick Janssen is third. Jorge Getters is fourth. Brad Coleman with an outside bid on him, diving into turn one. Nice move.
Yes, it was.
Look at the bottleneck behind him. Jeff Burton getting tapped.
No, not Hornaday running in back of 17.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't him. That was the cat that was up his bumper.
Todd Cleaver not on the lead lap in that 16 car for Roush. There's just no place to go to get out of the way. Oh, Pappas almost found the grass on the side of the course. And that one car.
I'm sure that was a much needed break for everybody. Everybody got their fluids, they rehydrated, they drank a bunch of fluids, and they're ready to get up on the wheel for the last half of this race.
Well, you know, the other thing Kevin Harvick, wow. On the restart.
There.
Bounced it off the wall.
Well, obviously, the guy in front of him was slowing down, and he was either running to back up or go around him.
Side by side in front of him for a spot. 27 is Getters. 90 is Stephen Light. Neither one stopped under the caution flag. Wonder if Harvick did any damage to that left front.
Well, he didn't hit it on an angle. He just kind of scrubbed it on a kind of a side slap.
I don't see any smoke there, so that looks pretty good.
He's got the Montreal stripe.
A new tradition.
Yeah.
How about the Harvick's team and their strategy, Marty?
Alan, crew chief Shane Wilson just came on the radio and told Kevin Harvick, man, we need a couple cautions to make this work, but we can't forfeit track position, so do what you do. Go race.
Drivers love to hear that.
You know, here's the other thing I was thinking about, Randy. You were talking about the drivers getting a little chance to have a breather with that long caution to clean up the oil. The brakes got a breather under that long caution, too. How much must that help some of these guys?
A lot. I'm sure these guys got a bunch more pedal. We heard Hornaday say earlier, his pedal went down about an inch. I'm sure it came back up once that thing gets cooled off.
Watching the race for second, Boris Stead in the 9, holding off Nick Janssen in the 28. Saw Janssen earlier when he was the one that kind of triggered that little spin between Michel Jourdain and Ron Hornaday right in this part of the racetrack in the opening couple of laps of the race. Janssen is a 40-year-old, originally from Sweden, now lives in Buford, Georgia. Had a birthday, actually is having a birthday today, turns 40 years old. In his first ever NASCAR race, veteran of the American Le Mans Series, the Rolex Sports Car Series, the Grand Am Series. He knows how to get it done on a road course. He's just learning these race cars for the first time.
And I'm sure Ron Hornaday gets to him, he will give him a birthday present.
He's going to have to go a ways to catch up to him.
Yes, he will.
Hornaday's back in 14th spot, and right now, Janssen is 3rd.
This here is a Haas Racing with Jay Robinson team, and it's a neat little association those guys have.
So the pit stops could come at any time for these guys who haven't pitted yet. All these guys at the front of the pack. And a couple of best friends going to race for a spot here. Brad Coleman in the 18 and Stephen Light in the 90.
Doing a wonderful job, both of these guys are.
Yeah. Light with a bid.
I think Coleman says you can go there, but he was pointing him and he wasn't telling him he's number 1, so that was okay.
Gary, how about this 18 car?
Coleman is saying right now, or hearing from his crew, that they will pit in 3 laps. That gets them definitely in their window. He's looking awful racy, however, for this young man. And Bryce Cobb, a spotter for him. He was the guy who discovered him karting in Texas when he was a 12-year-old. Now here he is 7 years later, beating and banging in Montreal in the Busch Series.
Wow, that was close for second spot. Nick Janssen looking inside of Boris Said.
I'm surprised we haven't seen some of these guys preparing for the X Games tomorrow.
Doing jumps and things?
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's been a pretty timid race so far. I shouldn't say timid, tame by what was expected.
Exactly.
Janssen inside of Said, who's going to pit road. Boris Said gives up second spot for a pit stop at lap 43. And this would be the planned final stop of the day for this 9 car. So they'll be looking to get this thing very full of fuel. And we'll see how he comes out in relation to some of these other guys a bit later on. Vince?
That's right, Alan. This is just a gas and go for the 9 car of Boris, and he has really liked his race car throughout the course of the day. And you know, as a road course veteran, he has been doing his best to conserve the tires and the brakes, and they knew that that was going to be the key as they came in today. So it's just a gas and go, fill it up as full as they can get it, and send him out his way to get to the end.
One color they don't want to see from now on is yellow.
Well, and yet the asterisk I'll put on that for you is that 21 car right there, Kevin Harvick. Remember, they say they're good to the finish, maybe.
Yeah, it's always maybe.
On fuel, or they're not planning on stopping again, so that's a trick. The yellow comes out, Harvick and Marcus Ambrose there in the 59, they get a couple extra, they buy some fuel if the yellow comes out. But Boris is so far behind now, if these guys don't stop and they don't run out of fuel, he's got no hope of catching them.
No, that's right. I mean, Marcus is having a career day. He's just loving this. He's like, man, there's not many times I get to drive past Kevin Harvick. That's for sure.
And that was an important pass because now Ambrose is the first of the guys planning on not pitting anymore this race.
Here it goes. He's downshift. That was 175 miles an hour down to 56 miles an hour, 55. Grabbing gears. We're going to do this all over again, guys.
Top speed there.
This is neat. I mean, there's areas that Kevin's a lot better. Kevin was really good right there here in practice the other day. This is where we'll see the blind section if the radio stays go with us.
Brad Coleman has just given up a top 5 running spot for a pit stop. Gary?
And that must be tough. They're not changing tires. Fuel only in a very short stop. He's full. They're hoping he's good for the distance now, and he's gone.
Jorge Getters also has come to pit road in the 27 car. So the guys that did not stop under that last caution beginning to make their way to the pit lane. And are not expected to come back again for the rest of the day. When will that 22 car stop? Patrick Carpentier.
Here comes Scott Pruitt. He's not far behind Harvick or the 59 car.
Ron Fellows and Max Pappas right on his back bumper. Robbie Gordon also in that group. And they're all chasing Jeff Burton, who is running in 6th place. You know, it's funny, you must have to have a stomach of steel to be a crew chief, because all of these strategies that these guys have played are all predicated on, I need some more caution flag laps, or I don't want the caution to wave again. You know, you're just sitting there on pins and needles waiting for the thing you don't want to happen to happen.
Absolutely right. We've seen Max just peel off. Max Pappas just coming into the pits, and so he'll be good to go towards the end of the race.
All this going on a little bit farther back in the pack. That's Jeff Burton running 6th, Pruitt 7th, Fellows 8th. 29, 41, and 33 respectively. But there is the race for the lead. Patrick Carpentier and Nick Johnson. As Max Pappas finally gets to his pit stall.
Yeah, anytime you go 30 miles an hour, you know, it just seems like it's forever to get down to your pit stop.
Go ahead, Vince.
As talking about the 1 cars, you see Max Pappas pulling away. When they came in, they didn't get enough fuel in the car the last time, so they had to come back in and pit again. One of those mistakes that kills you on pit road.
And a lead change. Nick Johnson goes by Carpentier.
Well, I tell you what, he's been very impressive all weekend. That race team's doing a wonderful job.
So the 6th different leader of this race is the birthday boy, 40-year-old Nick Johnson. As you see Stephen Light waving, looks like he's going to be heading to pit road here.
One of the brake zones, he just whistles it down in there. He goes, okay, there's nobody in front of me. I can't push nobody into nobody. But what a nice move.
Light had a thought about following him through there.
But I also knew he was going to pit, so I think Steven said, okay, I'm not going to press the issue.
Here's the interesting part. These guys haven't pitted. Ambrose has caught him. Marcus Ambrose running 3rd is flying. But right now it's Nick Johnson out in front in Montreal. And we come back to Montreal just as the race leader peels off and heads to pit road. Nick Johnson is going to make his stop under the green flag at lap 48. Patrick Carpentier stopped 1 lap ago. Marcus Ambrose is the new leader. And at a slow 30 miles an hour, the pit road speed limit today, Nick Johnson makes his way all the way down to the far end of pit road. Vince?
As Johnson's crew waits for him to arrive, they'll change 4 tires here and fill it up with fuel. They've been very happy with their race car and certainly happy with the way Johnson has driven it today, as you've noted, on his birthday. So what a special day it would be if Johnson could come in here to the Busch Series and not only get the win, but get it on his birthday. But they've got to have a good, clean stop here, and the crew chief urged them to make sure they got all the lug nuts on before they let him go, filling it up with fuel and changing the 4 tires in the 28 of Nicholas Johnson. You see the clock running in the left-hand portion of your screen, and away he goes.
You know what? What's still cool about this, he just left, but how many series can say, okay, we've had a Canadian lead, we have an American leader, we have a Swedish leader, and an Australian lead this race. It's amazing.
Very international field in today's event in Montreal, and have shown themselves very well on this difficult road course. Scott Pruitt, Ron Fellows, 3rd and 4th place. This is a race for now, behind Ambrose and Harvick.
And a little earlier we heard the crew chief for Kevin say, well, we don't have the speed to win. Well, he's staying right with the 59.
So here's the game now. These guys that stopped earlier, like Ambrose and Harvick, do they have the fuel to make the finish?
Well, we heard him say that the 59 was going to be 3 laps short. There's not a whole lot of fuel saving in a road course. Maybe on the yellow, but not on the green.
It's going to be interesting to see how the strategy, how this thing comes down at the finish. It really is.
Got a little sun issue coming up under the bridge right there. Luckily, it's not in a fast braking zone. This is that blind section we're talking about. You really can't see a whole lot in front of you. Yes, it is. I told you, he's one of the best in the business. And so Scott Pruitt. Those guys are awesome. If I had to guess, Ron might be just a tick better than Scott right here.
Hearing that Nick Johnson is back on pit road, and there he is. Vince, what's up?
Well, he had a catch can violation, did not get the catch can out in time, so it's going to be a drive-through for the 28 of Nicholas Janssen, and guys, that'll about put an end to his hopes of taking home the winner's check here today.
We heard at the top of the show when Scott Pruitt says the one who makes the least amount of mistakes is also the team that could win this thing.
Yep. So a good drive and a good performance, but it's not going to be a good finish unless something unusual happens here for Nick Johnson on his 40th birthday.
Man, we just seen 2 pretty cool passes, Fellows and Pruitt going right at it.
Yep. A pass and a pass back.
Yep.
Ron Fellows had a lot of success on this racetrack earlier in his career, won a couple of showroom stock races here in the early days of his professional racing career, and talked about how this place is named for the guy who was his racing hero. Gilles Villeneuve was a Canadian race driver who started off in snowmobile racing and then made his way into automobile racing, came up in the single-seaters and was snapped up by Ferrari to be a Formula One driver for them at a time that was still, in his auto racing experience, relatively early in his career. He had very quick and very instant success. He won the Canadian Grand Prix here in this venue in 1978, the first Formula One race held at this racetrack, and was known for being a diehard, a never-give-up guy behind the wheel of the race car. Had a flair to him, a real charisma to him. Ron Fellows talked about that you could look at Villeneuve through the visor of his helmet, and you just could see his eyes, and you could see the energy and the focus. And he said his eyes looked like saucers. They were so big, it seemed like he could see everything.
You can see that in race car drivers. When you look in the helmet of some guys, when they are focused, I seen it earlier where Patrick, before he went out and got the pole, he sat there and he was so focused. He was replaying what he was going to do, every corner he was going to do, and he went out there on his first lap and got the pole.
Fellows wearing Gilles Villeneuve t-shirts throughout the weekend here, racing at the track named for his hero. Greg Biffle in the 37 car, one of the guys who started in the back of the pack. He's made his way up to 8th place, Marty.
Yeah, Alan, he's running very well right now, but he is a bit concerned about his race car. He says he doesn't have doesn't have much brakes left in the car, and it simply won't turn for him. He said, I'm doing what I can just to finish, and his crew chief isn't helping matters any, telling him on the radio, try to conserve fuel. One other note about Jeff Burton. He's also complaining about the handling of his race car, saying it's much worse than it was in an earlier stage of the race. Guys.
Laps, rubber on the racetrack, conditions will change.
Boy, we heard from Marcus Ambrose. He's loving his car. He's like, well, I'm not even abusing this thing yet. Got plenty of brakes left. That's trouble for the rest of this field.
Oops, somebody was just dusting into the little back straightaway. Is that Lally in the 47? It's another team with a nice rally through the shuffle of pit stops and strategy and so on. Scott Zipadelli, the crew chief there, has got this 47 car back into the top 10. He's running 7th.
Yeah, that's awesome. Bring it on.
Vince, what are they saying down there?
Well, they're very happy with the way this car has run and the way Andy Lally has driven it. And Lally won the GT class on Friday here, his 5th win of the season, so it's been a good weekend for him. But he just had turned the fastest lap of was the fastest car on that last lap, 42.4, and they don't have to stop for fuel any longer either, so they're out there until the end, and they're very confident that he can improve on this current 6th place spot.
And that's a teammate to Marcus Ambrose. Both those cars are out of the same shop.
Tell you what, if we don't see another caution or two, the fuel thing at the end of this race is going to get to be really, really interesting.
Boy, it could be sad if you're a Marcus Ambrose fan.
There could be guys running out all over the place, and somebody you totally don't even think is in the picture right now could wind up winning this thing.
Absolutely.
52 of 74 laps complete here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Marcus Ambrose, the Australian, is out in front of Kevin Harvick. Indy cars roll into one of the fastest tracks on the circuit tomorrow, Michigan International Speedway, for the Firestone IndyCar 400. ESPN2 Sunday at noon Eastern Time. Close championship fight. Indy 500 winner Dario Franchitti and Scott Dixon there atop the standings. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. 20 laps to go at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Marcus Ambrose is leading this NASCAR Busch Series inaugural event here. He's out in front of Scott Pruitt by 4 seconds. Ambrose is laying down some laps.
Yes, he is. He's been fast. I'm not sure if the crew guys say, okay, you can't make it on fuel. Just get as much as a lead as you can. So if you do have to stop, we're going to lose as little bit of track position as possible.
Second place has just changed hands. Both Scott Pruitt in the yellow 41 and Ron Fellows in the 33 just went around Kevin Harvick. So take Harvick back to 4th with Robbie Gordon just behind them, rounding out the top 5.
Looked like Kevin had a lot of wheel put in that car right there. You can see the left front turn, so Kevin might be a little tight on some of these corners.
Ambrose he's just flying right now. The lap times he's putting down,
he's checked out from these cats.
Yeah. But again, remember the report we got from pit road, his team does not feel they can make it to the finish on fuel. So they're either going to have to pit again or hope for a lot of laps of caution. And the caution has been a pretty rare sight today here in Montreal. A lot of people were expecting a yellow flag filled race. We've only seen the full course yellow 2 times today, both of them for engines being broken and dropping liquid on the racetrack. Of course, Marcus Ambrose in his rookie season on the NASCAR Busch Series, but he said that halfway through the year, he's really begun to redirect his goals for the season.
Now we're at a point where we're finishing on a regular basis, we're getting better and better in our performance. Our goals have changed. I think we need to run top 10 every week, at least hang around the top 10 more often than not.
They're talking about Ambrose still learning the oval track. He's still going to speedways he hasn't been to yet. But he really has shown a lot of promise, and he's very well respected, I think, by his fellow drivers in the garage.
Oh, he has. You talk to anybody out there, and Marcus hasn't really made anybody mad yet. That's something that is good for his side, because once you get into this sport, it's very easy to really make somebody mad, especially on something on an oval that he's not accustomed to. He's been good on restarts. If he does get a lap down, he gives the racers race room. So I tell you what, a lot of respect to Marcus.
Gary, want to talk about Ambrose some more?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out the fact you were talking how Ernie Cope said earlier they needed 3 laps or another caution. They were that much short. Just checked with him a few moments ago. They've made up a half a lap. Now they need 2.5, but they're running out of time. And 2.5, I don't think you can save that kind of fuel. And I think without a yellow, they're going to be in tough shape, and they'll have to visit pit road.
Well, they must be doing some serious heartburn down there in that pit right now, because the caution, like I said, has been a rare thing today, and the guys behind them don't have to stop for fuel.
Well, I mean, on Marcus's behalf, when he came down pit road, he's like, all these other guys are going to make it, so I'm going to make it. So I'm just going to go out there and just see it. I'm going to check out. I see some damage on the front of Kevin Harvick's 21 car. I think the right front fender was all blown up.
Here's Robbie Gordon in 5th place. That damage on the left side of his front grill's been there since early in the race. What about Robbie Gordon's, Dave?
Well, they're needing a yellow like many of these other teams. I just spoke with Brad Parrott of the 41 car. They said they need yellow as well. 55 needs yellow. They've got to conserve fuel. You're not going to be able to conserve fuel and get past the cars that they need to get past. So I would look for the 55 to have to come in, particularly as you noted, Alan, we're not seeing many yellows today. If this one stays green, they're definitely going to have to come for a splash.
Got some smoke showing on the racetrack now, but that was from David Ruderman.
I think it was coming in a little hot. Smoked the tires. Oh, it looked like his right front got damaged.
Yep. Got the fender caved in on that Toyota, and he will be visiting the pit lane shortly.
Hopefully the tire will last that far when he gets there.
See if we can figure out what happened.
This won't be
the cause of it. This will just be the smoke we were seeing.
As soon as the car unloads and puts the weight forward, it drops the fender right on top of the tire.
It's not going to last very long like that, so we'll see if Ruderman comes down pit road. He is on the lead lap in 16th place right now. Oh, Jorge Getters. I thought I heard tires squealing into the barrier.
Just went by Ruderman.
So Getters has backed it into the fence.
Looks like a gremlin.
Do not have a caution flag on the course as of yet. Giving it away.
Hopefully he realizes his spoiler's jacked up about 3 foot.
Boy, did they make contact before he spun? Or?
No, I think David just got out of the way and Jorge just got in there and miscalculated the corner and got in there really hot.
So Getters trying to limp his way back around and bring his car to the attention of the pit crew.
No, I'm okay, guys. Just put some tires on it.
Got a little bit of work to do there. One thing's for sure, I hope they don't need any more fuel because they're not going to be getting it into that car that way. Carl Edwards on board.
Oh, you can feel the rear end. You can simulate the rear end hopping. And they told NASCAR told him to stay on the racetrack. Come on, Carl, listen up.
Of course, Carl already in the garage broke one of the truck arm mounts on the rear suspension of his car earlier. Spent time behind the wall while it was welded and repaired. He is in 31st place, 10 laps down to the leader. So the shifter handle with that dislocated right thumb, the least of his problems today.
Well, I mean, you know, that could have been something where he missed the right gear and he went to a different gear and got the rear end hopping real bad.
There's Greg Biffle paying a visit to the gravel.
He said his car wasn't turning too good.
Apparently went straight down at the hairpin. And Getters has got some more problems, and he may be parking right there. See if this is going to bring out a full course yellow. And it does. Now things get interesting.
Stay out.
Yellow flag number 3, probably in the Marcus Ambrose pit. They are breathing a sigh of relief.
Put it in 4th gear, Marcus, and just idle.
Full course yellow out here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. Will any of the front runners pit, or are these caution laps enough to get them fuel to the finish? Gilles Villeneuve under the 3rd full course caution of today's race. None of the front runners have come on to pit road. Not a surprise.
No, they're all hoping this thing. I'm sure Marcus is running this thing in 4th gear, not even touching the gas pedal. They have to. We heard the guy earlier say they gained a half a lap. Well, they need another 2.5 laps.
And you talked about earlier, it's hard to save fuel on a road course. What about under the caution?
Oh yeah, it's a lot easier under caution, that's for sure. But you know, on a road course, when you're leading the race, it's hard to save fuel. If you're in the back, you could slow down a half second, 3/4 of a second. But when you're leading, boy, you just want to go and just spank them all.
What are they saying in the 59 pit there, Gary?
Well, interesting. Marcos Ambrose came on the radio and asked the crew chief, "Are we going to have enough fuel?" And crew chief Bernie Cope said, "It's going to be real tight." But right now, they're gambling. They don't want to give up the track position. They are staying out as of this moment. And it's interesting, guys, because the crew was cheering every time they saw on the monitor when Getters or or anybody else, Biffle went off the racetrack. They wanted the yellow. They got the yellow, but they haven't brought him in to take advantage of it. Vince Welch?
Well, there's no question that the 41 is staying out as well. There you get a good look at Scott Pruitt and the Juicy Fruit machine. And Brad Parrott said they've had their pit strategy screwed up a couple of times already. He's not going to screw it up again, so they're going to leave him out there, and for better or worse, Scott Pruitt's going to be out on the track till the end.
See quite a bit of debris to be swept off the racetrack while the field is gathered up by the pace car. All these guys that have had these little off-course excursions and brought things back onto the speedway, so they'll take a minute to clean things up and set us up for the finish. It's really going to be interesting. How many laps of caution do you get here? Do you save enough fuel to make the finish? And, you know, these guys they've plotted their strategy. They have to stick with it now. You can't change course.
How do they calculate that? I wonder if we can find out. I mean, how do they say, okay, 1 lap of caution gets us 2 laps of green? How do they do that?
Well, on an oval track, that's usually the number,
double,
right? 2 to 1. Now, I had a couple crew chiefs tell me this morning that on a road course, it's not 2 to 1 on a road course. You don't quite get that much under caution. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
Obviously, there's no question, though, riding around here in high gear, almost at idle, you're not using as much fuel as you are when you're revving the engine up and you got your foot to the floor trying to run through the gears. So they're saving some fuel and setting themselves up to make the finish, maybe.
Maybe. You're gonna make that's the best thing. You ask the crew chief, hey, we got enough fuel? And they don't say nothing, and they say, maybe. You're like, oh man, that's not good.
Yeah.
So that means everybody behind me can't make it either, because they all come in the same lap.
Yeah, well, there are guys farther back, though, that do have enough fuel to make the finish, like Boris said. But Boris is all the way back in 11th spot right now. So that's a lot to overcome.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, his track position is not as well as he would like it, that's for sure.
One thing to expect a couple guys to run out of fuel in front of you in a situation like this, but for 10 others to run out, that's probably not going to happen.
Blowing it down.
So while we're under the caution, why don't we see if we can reach our in-race reporter, Scott Pruitt, who's running in 2nd place right now.
No, they're
Scott Pruitt, Randy LaJoy, what's your competition look like out there for the rest of the race?
quite a bit. Here. Yeah, they've been tangling. Don't worry about them.
Sounds like there's one of the spotters trying to reach Scott on the radio. All right, let's try it now.
Scott Pruitt, Randy LaJoy, you have anything for that 59 car? He's looked very strong all day. How much car you got left?
Well, the car feels good. You know, the Juicy Fruit Dodge has been running spectacular all day long. We've been really trying to be careful with the brakes. We leaned on them a little bit harder that last run, but still trying to leave a little bit for the last 10 laps. So we'll have to wait and see. The 59's been strong all day, and as well as Bellows right behind me. So I think it's going to be a great show to the finish.
And I'm sure the crew chief says you got 10 extra gallons of fuel. Don't worry about it.
You know what? Of all the things I got to worry about right now, that's not one of them. And that's if we run out of gas, it's not going to be my you know what on the line.
Okay, Brad, here you go. It's all in your court now.
You know, as much horsepower as we got under this Juicy Fruit Dodge today, we're getting great gas mileage, and yes, we can make it from here. You know, it's all in Scott's hand to get by that 59, and he's a great race car driver. I'm glad I got him in my camp today and next week.
Okay, guys, that's awesome. Good luck.
Thank you, Randy.
So they say they've got enough fuel. Do they have the car to get by Marcus Ambrose in the laps remaining? Working to the final stages today in Montreal. We're coming back in a moment. X Games 13 from Los Angeles. Coming up next, you will see Moto X Freestyle, and later Ricky Carmichael makes his X Games debut. X Games 13 next, after NASCAR. And don't forget, Boris said we'll be at X Games tomorrow, but of course first we'll turn our attention to NASCAR. The Nextel Cup Series at Pocono, presented by Rush Hour 3, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the pole for the first time in forever. He and Kurt Busch will lead the field to the green flag. ESPN.com has more information for you. Our coverage begins tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern time.
You don't think he wants to be in that chase?
Junior?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That whole race team stepped it up a notch.
There are all kinds of ways to have a good time around the aisle, the Notre Dame aisle here in Montreal. That's got to be a little bit chilly, that water temperature, though. The double-duty drivers who will be back in Pocono tomorrow that are racing here in Montreal today. Where are they running in the race? Some of them making out pretty well. Some of them not too good.
You know, Carl Edwards had a rough day. He's having a rough day. But that's something that those guys obviously going to look at. They felt something hitting earlier in the weekend on Thursday. They seen that it was definitely rubbing the racetrack. You know, a lot of guys have done that on speedways. You end up having to go in there and refabricate the race car so it clears the ground.
So we're coming to the green flag.
Clean them off.
There will be 14 laps to go. Marcus Ambrose leads. Scott Pruitt is second. Ron Fellows third. Kevin Harvick fourth. Robbie Gordon fifth. There are 18 cars on the lead lap. How many of them have enough fuel to make it to the finish? And oh, what if we get a late caution and we end up with a green-white checker overtime finish?
Well, you know, we heard Hornaday earlier say about the brakes glazing over. We're going to find out in turn one how many guys have brakes glazed over. Because if they do, they're not going to stop that good.
Ambrose to lead him back to the restart. That was Andy Lally that didn't get going. Jeff Burton with some contact with him. The feeding frenzy down into turn one on Lally. Oop, Hornaday.
I'm coming in, guys. I'm coming in.
That was big.
Whoa, trouble.
Yeah, that was Pappas coming out and sliding from the grass.
Boy, Mexico City, Boris said, passed about 3 cars one time doing that.
Who was it? It was Scott Pruitt that we heard from earlier talking about patience. You're going to have patience until you get down to the laps that counted.
Absolutely.
We're down to the laps that count. 13 to go.
Which is still a long way away. I mean, that is a long time sitting in this race car for another 13 laps.
Here's Boris said. Ron Hornaday, that is for 9th and 10th spots.
It's time to go. Boris says, okay, these guys in front of me, they're not going to stop. I have to catch them. I have to run them down.
Hornaday looking a little the worse for wear for his little excursion down there, boiling the brakes some.
And look at who's 2 cars behind Hornaday. The birthday boy.
Who's that, Nick Johnson?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure they relayed the message that it wasn't just the 17 that picked Ron's tires off the ground.
Well, you drivers never forget, do you? That happened on what, lap 2, lap 3?
Lap 2, yeah, we don't, it could be months and we don't forget.
12 to go. Ambrose and Pruitt being chased by Ron Fellows. Not seen Robbie Gordon threaten to jump up and lead this race at any time today, but here he is, 5th place with these laps beginning to run out.
I'll watch him. His tail end is kind of wagging a little bit more than everybody else's. Under throttle, he's a little looser than everybody, it looks like.
Andy Pilgrim around Jeff Burton back of the picture there to pick up a spot. Pilgrim 6th, Burton back to 7th.
It was so neat to watch Ambrose earlier in the race, which is Scott Pruitt's doing now. They're never getting right behind the guys. They're getting as much air to the brakes as they could.
Fanning out, Robbie Gordon inside of Harvick. Here's bid for 4th spot. Not going to get it.
Look at the distance he's opened up in 2 laps.
Ambrose.
Yes.
Yeah. There's Robbie Gordon's crew chief. What about this fifth place car, Vince?
Well, Dana Brugman is the crew chief. They were short on fuel before that last yellow. Did the last yellow give you enough time to save enough fuel to get to the end?
We're gonna be close, but Robbie wanted to go racing with 10 or 12 to go, so we're gonna let him go. He come here to win, and we're gonna be close. We're gonna give it a shot.
That's racing, guys.
So back to your previous statement, when the crew chief says we're going to be close,
you know, you just go. You just step on the gas. If you run out, you run out, and then we'll talk about it later. But if he says I'm going racing, you better look out. These are two old former teammates right here. There was no love lost when they were teammates, so it's going to be interesting.
Fourth place here. Robbie Gordon outside to the right, Kevin Harvick inside to the left, but then inside becomes outside in the other corner. That's Robbie Gordon thinking ahead to the layout of the race.
Absolutely, and that's what Jeff Burton was telling me earlier in the week. He goes, you know, when you set these guys up to get on the outside of them, so the second corner, you're on the right angle.
So Gordon to fourth, but seeing just that little bit of time he ran side by side with Harvick. Look at the gap the front three pulled on it.
It'll be interesting to watch. I'm going to watch lap times here and see what he's running compared to Marcus Ambrose.
Another guy running some solid lap times. We talked about Andy Pilgrim in that 88 Navy car getting around Jeff Burton.
And he's closing up on the guys in front of him.
A little side-by-side racing gave him opportunity to join this fight. It's a pretty nice drive for Andy. Sixth place, first ever stock car race.
Absolutely. It's not over with yet. I mean, he did stop on the same lap those other guys did. So it's going to be very interesting.
A lot of pressure beginning to be applied here.
They were going at it earlier, back and forth. I mean, Ron passed them entering their corner, and Scott got him back coming out of the corner.
Ron Fellows in 33, Scott Brewer in 41. But losing time to Marcus Ambrose, who's moving away from them. The question still remains, are they really good on fuel? To me, that's still a question.
About 5 laps, that's what we're going to be seeing. God, I hope so, because this is going to be a great race.
Some calculators smoking down on pit lane trying to calculate those numbers, huh?
Yes, it is.
You watching Robbie Gordon fast times?
Yeah, but it's not as fast as Marcus Ambrose. Marcus is still very fast.
Brad Parrott says his car is good to the finish on fuel. What about the 59, the race leader Marcus Ambrose? We are 10 laps away from the checkered flag here in Montreal. Ambrose in search of his first Busch Series win. In fact, neither of the top two have won before. Aerial coverage from Montreal brought to you by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Great day to be flying above Circuit Chile Villeneuve, and on the ground, the caution flag has just waved for the 4th time in this race. Oil on the racetrack again is the cause of the yellow flag. But things have changed around a little bit in the last moments before that yellow flag came out. Second place has changed hands. First, one of the pre-race fan favorites, Patrick Carpentier, running a little bit back in the pack because their strategy didn't work out as well as it could have. And now going to run a little farther back in the pack.
Yeah, he was setting up the guy in front of him, and the guy behind him says, well, sorry, I'm putting my fender in there, and it turned him around.
Now down in the hairpin, the race for second. Ron Hornaday to the outside of Scott Pruitt. Not Ron Hornaday, Ron Fellows, I'm sorry.
No contact at all.
They both just spun. And look at Robbie Gordon fighting his way to the inside. On board Scott Pruitt.
His angle was totally wrong for that corner. He was blocking Fellows, and his angle just messed him up, and Fellows was in there. He's like, okay, you gonna turn? You gonna turn? You gonna turn? Okay, I didn't hit nobody. He's trying to get grip. He hit her back tires just spinning.
So in the ensuing corner, Robbie Gordon got around Fellows for second. He kind of pounced on that opportunity, but that scrap for second place allowed Marcus Ambrose to run away and hide from those guys, and then the caution came out and brought them all right back to him.
So this might make all these guys say, okay, we can make enough fuel.
Yep.
On the speeds, Marcus has been faster than Robbie by about a half a second. But man, I tell you what, it's so much easier to chase a guy than it is to lead a guy. So it's going to be very interesting. Marcus is going to have to be up on his game to keep Robbie Gordon behind him.
Just talked about how we haven't seen Robbie contend for the lead all day. Now he's second with the laps running out in Montreal. Under caution, we'll come back for the restart. Back in Montreal in the NAPA Auto Parts 200 presented by Dodge. We know the reason now for the oil on the racetrack. It came from this car. Boris said has gone to the garage, apparently with troubles under the hood, and one of the pre-race favorites is out for this race. Will not be around in these final laps. Oil dry being put down in the hairpin turn. So it's going to be a couple of moments before we go back to green flag racing. While we do that, let's get some updates from pit road. Marty?
Thanks, Alan. I'm with Shane Wilson, crew chief for Kevin Harvick. He was once again reminding his driver to try to conserve fuel. Kevin wants to race. Obviously, you guys look pretty smart right now. These cautions have fallen in your favor.
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as we go to lap 74, if there's a green-white checker, we won't be looking near as smart right now. But, you know, everyone's done a good job. We built this car and just put a lot of effort in it. And just want to thank everyone at the Fab Shop that worked on this one, you know, just tried some stuff. But I think the car's really good. We just missed it by a little bit today for the overall speed that we need to, you know, to maybe win. But we're still right there, and a lot of things can happen.
How much do you have to coach Kevin behind the wheel and remind him, save, conserve?
Well, I don't usually have to coach Kevin by any means, but here, you know, we needed to save our brakes and save fuel here this last run. So, you know, he's doing a good job today. I wish we would have been just a little bit better so we'd have a chance to run with that 59.
That's 2021 update. Gary?
Now we check in here with Ernie Cope, the 59. How much easier are you breathing after this yellow?
Well, that put us past our window. We should be good on fuel. Now we just got to get a good restart and he do his thing. I think we're going to be okay. We'll just see what happens.
Marcus came on the radio and he was thanking everybody, saying regardless of what happens, it's been a terrific day already. But nobody wants to be premature in this situation, do they?
No, that's what I said. Let's just wait, run her out, and we'll wait till we decide what kind of day it is at the end of the day.
Well, it's been an impressive day thus far, but they still got 6+ laps to go.
Well, now he's got Robbie Gordon behind him, who will be all over him on the restart. Look at a bounce.
Well, you know what? He has an advantage, but a disadvantage. His advantage is he's in leading. But the disadvantage is he's the first one going into the slick racetrack where they put the speedy dry down.
Vince?
Here with Boris Said, and Boris, unfortunately, already in street clothes here. What happened with the car?
Yeah, unfortunately, we lost the motor, but the guys in the engine department built a great motor, so, you know, sometimes things break. But, this Hellman's Dodge is really fast. I think we had the best pit strategy. I don't know how those guys out front are going to make it on fuel. You know, I was betting they're all going to run out, and we would have cruised to an easy victory.
And now you're headed to the X Games.
Trying to make the X Games, so I got to run. Thanks.
Already got his bags packed. He's in his street clothes and headed for the airplane.
Trying to beat some of the traffic out of here, although he would gladly have stayed for the victory celebration if that was an option. Final laps coming up here in Montreal. Ambrose and Gordon, your top two. In search of his first NASCAR Busch Series win, it would be quite the turnaround from the recent performances by the Australian driver. He's kind of been on a little run of tough luck.
Well, we heard him say earlier, guys, you have done a wonderful job all week. You know, he's all pumped up, and he has a wonderful task at hand to keep Robbie Gordon in his back mirror, that's for sure.
And so Ambrose with probably about 4 laps of racing to try and make that happen. And as we heard a minute ago, thinks they've got the fuel to make the finish. Behind Robbie Gordon, Ron Fellows in third, and our in-race reporter Scott Pruitt in fourth. They were racing for second just a little bit ago.
Scott Pruitt, Randy LaJoy up in the booth. What do you got left, and what happened out there?
Well, I was just down on the inside trying to protect my line, and it was like there was a bunch of oil coming through 8, 9, and then 10. See how they're cleaning it all up now. Got down there and couldn't get stopped, and then just slid. So, unfortunately for the Juicy Crew Dodge, car's running good. It's just when you get into oil like that, not much you can do.
Okay, thanks, man. You're going to have about 4 to go. Good luck. Okay, Brad, what did you see down there? And obviously they cleaned up the inside of the racetrack, it looked like.
Yeah, they did. You know, the Juicy Fruit Dodges run great all day today, Randy, and that 47 cost me a lot of headaches today. You know, on that last pit stop, he come around, I had to hold up about 3 seconds, and then that was his rear end grease down there in turn 10, and things happen, you know, and that's like Juicy Fruit and Big Red. You always got to have it.
All right, well, he got the plug in anyway.
Yes, he did. And I wonder if there's any connection with the 47's teammate to the 59.
Andy Lally's gone to the garage area and is with a mechanical problem on his car, so I wouldn't think so.
No, I'm sure he didn't want to break, that's for sure.
No. So we're down to it here and waiting on the cleanup. It looks like we're going to be at least one more lap under the caution flag. And let's show you how we got to this point in today's inaugural here in Montreal. Carl Edwards making a leap of faith over some of the curves earlier. Well, that leap cost him a broken truck arm mount. They had to go to the garage to repair it. He's back in 30th place. Patrick Carpentier started on pole, led some laps, got spun around a little while ago. He's back at 14th. And here's that spin just a minute ago.
That's right, like he says, the Goodyear tires are awesome, but they have no grip when they're in oil.
That was a race for second place between Scott Pruitt and Ron Hornaday at lap 65, 4 laps ago. So now Fellows is in, I keep saying Hornaday instead of Fellows, don't I?
He's been in that 33 car a lot this year.
I know it. Fellows is in 3rd and Pruitt is in 4th. And we're getting ready to go back racing here, hopefully in just one more lap. Well, Hornaday's been in a lot of action today.
Yes, he has, and he's kind of close to that cat, the 28. Maybe he's going up to say hi to him.
You won't let that go, will you? Well, for Ron Fellows, going from racing to second to being back behind Robbie Gordon now. The top Canadian driver in the field would be Fellows at this point and hoping for a home country win. And Fellows talking here on his team radio just a few moments ago about what to expect here at the end of the race.
Pruitt just wasn't going to give it up. I tried to go around the outside of me, ran me way wide, and he spun. I got crap all over my tires, and Robbie got by me.
At 10-4, 10-4. We saw it on the replay there. But that's good because Robbie's going to rough up the 59 here, so just be ready for that.
Copy that.
Dan Stillman, the crew chief, with words of encouragement for Ron Fellows.
That's right.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, is it?
No, that Pruitt could still win this.
No, the Pruitt, okay.
That's right. I mean, I'm sure Fellows is thinking, okay, these guys are going to rough each other up. I'm going to sneak by, you know, but he got just slowed up enough to get Gordon to get by him. So when Pruitt spun out, so you know, you don't never know. Any one of these top 5 cars could be it, or they can run out of gas.
Getting down to the final laps on this thing, and before it's over, just a couple thoughts. First of all, the fan turnout here in Montreal.
They were coming in yesterday for practice. This place was half full yesterday. At 8 o'clock in the morning, they were trucking in here.
Said between yesterday and today, a little slip brought into us earlier that the attendance for the weekend, just about 130,000 fans between yesterday's practice day and today's qualifying and race day. As far as the fan support, this inaugural race in Montreal has been an unquestioned success. As far as the race itself, there were a lot of concerns at the start of the day that it would be a crash fest and a caution-filled affair, and really all the cautions have been for oil on the racetrack, just about.
Absolutely, and you know, the brake issues we've heard about, you know, we heard the 59 say, hey, he's got plenty of brakes left. So it's going to be very interesting. I think Ron Fellows has Ron Fellows has a lot of brake left, and it sounds like the 41 does too. We heard Kevin was a little slow on brakes.
You've been listening to me too much
yes,
today.
You're rubbing off on me.
Crew chiefs have had to work hard on their strategy today to try and figure out what the right ticket was going to be at the front of this thing at the end. And we've seen some twists and turns throughout the day. And now we're getting ready to settle this thing on the racetrack, hopefully green to the finish, with a 4-lap run to the checkered flag.
If they have brakes left, boy, they're going to be using them up here in the next couple of turns, that's for sure.
So Marcus Ambrose in search of his first career NASCAR Busch Series win. Remember, his background comes from road course racing. He told me earlier this weekend he felt like this was a chance to get back on even turf with a lot of people instead of on the ovals where he felt he's still on a learning curve. He is out front. He's had a tremendous car all day long and run some of the quicker lap times all day at different points during the race. Robbie Gordon behind him. Robbie's got a stellar record on the road courses and is very hungry for a win. Let's check in Robbie Gordon's pit. Vince?
With Dana Bregman one more time, and a little bump and run here. What do you got in store for us in these final 4 laps?
I don't know. We'll see what Robbie does here. I have all the confidence in the world. He'll be fine.
You guys had talked all weekend about just being patient till the end, getting in position, just as you are now. Do you have the brakes in the car to get past Ambrose? He's been awfully fast.
He has been fast, but Robbie's really took care of the car really well today. We got good brakes yet, so I think we'll be fine.
Do you like how he smiled there when you talked about the old bump and run, guys? Maybe that'd be a little fun for him, huh?
It could look like the X Games here in a minute.
Well, we're going to find out.
Marcus, NASCAR says it's clear enough. They're going green.
We are coming to the restart. There'll be 4 laps to go in this race. I would keep a careful eye on those first couple corners after the start-finish line. The heavy braking zone with the left-hand turn 1 and the right-hand turn 2. And then at the far end of the racetrack when they get to the big hairpin, also the heavy braking zone. What's Ambrose trying to do here? What's he thinking for this restart?
He wants to get a good start so he could get away with a couple car lengths, so he has a little breathing room getting into 1. If he gets out of 1 with some breathing room, boy, I tell you, he's been fast, and he could yard these guys by a couple car lengths. His big things, he has to get through the gears good. Hopefully he got the thing cleaned out. He doesn't spin the tires. So if he gets a good start, he wants to get away by a couple car lengths right here.
Right, 50 yards, Marcus. Green.
Harvick inside of Pruitt for 4th place. Pruitt shuts the door on him. Harvick hits him back, and he gets Fellows. Big pile up down in turn 2.
Took out his teammate. Took out his own car he owns.
They're still running into each other trying to get through it. Brad Coleman involved, Ron Hornaday involved, and up front, Robbie Gordon by Ambrose, who goes back on him. Caution flags waving.
Well, we'll wonder what the loops are with this thing. Boy, we didn't see the pass, but it looks like the back of Ambrose's car, the right rear corner, is all tore up. So obviously, he might have repaid the favor.
And Robbie Gordon still sitting sideways on the track, trying to get turned back around the other way.
Marcus did what he wanted to do on the beginning of that. He did yard him a couple car lengths. So 1 and 2 was good, but obviously, when he got to 3 and 4, he might have got a little help.
So things going all kinds of crazy here on a restart with 4 laps to go. First they pile up behind the leaders down in turns 1 and 2. All kinds of damage on some of these cars coming back around. And then the race for the lead goes crazy as well with Robbie Gordon and Marcus Ambrose, and Gordon ends up sitting sideways and backwards on the racetrack. And the full course caution is out.
Some of these guys didn't put a scratch on that racetrack until 4 laps to go. Now they're all tore up.
Here's it's Robbie Gordon, first of all, coming back up the racetrack, so we must want to keep an eye on that, see if he's going to come knocking. Yeah. He is going to come knocking, I believe.
Well, if he started it, you know, you have to be able, you can give it, you got to be able to take it.
NASCAR usually doesn't take too kindly to contact between the cars under caution, especially when it's a payback issue.
Well, Mark has got to be very careful here. He don't mess up his toe on his car.
Well, here's the other question I have, Randy, is when was the caution thrown?
Exactly
we talked about
right.
the scoring loops and how NASCAR freezes the field under the caution. Was the caution for the pileup in turn 1, and who was leading when the caution came out? All right, first of all, here's the big stack up down in turns 1 and 2.
Well, they got in there and they just run out of room. They were both going to the bottom of the racetrack, and when that happens, you know, these guys, some of these guys' brakes might be lower than other guys, and they just pile right into each other.
And they kept on piling in.
Yes. Well, I mean, Kevin probably wasn't too happy because he was pushed off into the grass, and he wanted to tell the 41, I didn't really appreciate that.
And on board, Kevin Harvick.
Yep. Yep, he got in there on the outside of the guy and got pushed into the grass and trying to make it back to the inside.
And from Pruitt.
That's the worst thing when you're sitting there. When you're sitting there and then things starts hitting stuff.
Boy, things have gone downhill in a hurry for this team, contended to win the race just a little while ago.
It looked like there was a couple accidents happening there. The 77 got pushed off the track, and he come back on the track and there was 2 different wrecks, but they all ended up in the same pile.
And now, between the top 2 for the race lead.
You can see that flag waving on the outside there.
So Robbie Gordon riding around next to Marcus Ambrose, probably. See if we have another look at it here.
We didn't see what
Caution
happened.
flag waving.
Yeah.
When they came around that corner. So, and this is just speculation on my part, but I'm speculating that Robbie Gordon is saying, hey, the caution flag was out, so I'm the race leader. Even though I got hit and spun.
And it looks like they put him, well, I'm not, they've been messing with it. Oh, there's switched again. Gordon in the front, Ambrose
well,
in the front.
that's just where they're crossing the scoring loops on the racetrack, Randy, flipping the automatic scoring that you're looking at over there. The question has to come from race control. Who is leading the race? When did the caution come out?
Correct.
And what's the picture here for these final laps of the race? Oh, and by the way, we're running out of laps here too.
Yeah, and everybody says green, white, checkered. Green, white, checker. Some of these guys weren't going to make it.
The word from race control is that Marcus Ambrose is the leader of the race.
Where are they going to put Robbie Gordon?
And that's question number 2. When did the caution come out, and where does the 55 go, and how is this going to look for the finish? So we'll wait for the word from the officials on that one. But in the meantime, they're cleaning up the mess and going to get this thing put back together, and we'll go back racing again for these final few laps.
They might be giving these guys one to go in the backstretch. That's usually where they do it.
Well, they still got a couple of pieces of equipment out on the racetrack here, the safety equipment going back to their spots around the course. There is the damage to Jeff Burton's car.
It's a great view. He's just going in. He says, okay, I'm all good. I'm just going to take this corner. Oh, I see a couple of guys wrecking. I'm slowing down. That was that second wreck I was talking about. He just got cleaned out from behind.
Marty?
Yeah, Alan, they're down here. They've pulled out the baseball bats. They're putting on duct tape. The 29's pretty used up. Burton was pretty calm, though, about it. I think that when you get down to the end of a road course race like this, such things are apt to happen. Burton will get back out on the racetrack and finish the race. But again, this car's pretty used up.
This was a day that this team was going to gain on Carl Edwards' team in that Owners' Championship that we talked about earlier on NASCAR Countdown, but now
they're not going to gain as much.
Yeah, Edwards is out in 30th place on the racetrack, and Jeff Burton is on pit road getting his car put back together. And right now being shown in 16th, still on the lead lap, but that's subject to change depending on how long he sits there. Trying to go back and show a little different angle on what happened with the leaders. Here's how Robbie Gordon made the pass on Ambrose to get in front of him, and then the continuation. So Gordon by there, and then Ambrose back off that same corner.
Ambrose got a great bite up off that corner and just kind of jacked Robbie up, and he's going a little quicker than Robbie was.
Vince?
You know, one of the worst people you can be in a situation like this is a NASCAR official, because they're getting it from both camps. Certainly down here in the 55 camp of Robbie Gordon, the crew was pleading that indeed Robbie was ahead or should have been ahead of Marcus Ambrose when that yellow came out, and all in good nature, but certainly the NASCAR officials are the guys that the teams are looking for immediately when there's some sort of controversy this late in the race. So Robbie Gordon will be back in that number 2 position, but the guys down here aren't too happy about it in the 55 camp.
Well, actually, trying to hear where Robbie Gordon is going to be in the restart order here, as NASCAR is looking at some video and trying to sort out the running order, when the caution came out and who goes where and so on. So we got one of those situations going on right here.
That's right. And Andy Pilgrim's like, hey, I'm second, not you.
Mm-hmm. It's tough. Tough to be the referee, isn't it?
Yes.
So it looks like we're going to be coming to the green flag.
3 wide?
And my question is still, who's the second place car going to be? And if it's not Robbie Gordon, where in line is he going to be? We're hearing that he's not going to be the second car in line. We're going to find out where they do put him in line. It's going to be a little bit farther back in the pack, I think. I don't believe Robbie's going to be up there knocking around with the leader for the win here.
Well, what happens is when they freeze the field, I think you have to maintain a certain speed. So Robbie was turned around there, couldn't get the thing fired back. So that's one of the things that's going to be difficult.
And that's a decision that's not going to make him happy. NASCAR, all right, we're not coming to the restart, obviously. The pace car is still on the track. While they sort it out, let's take a break. We'll come back for the finish. Wild here in these last 15 minutes or so. This guy's knocking around for final finishing spots on a restart just a moment ago.
2 different wrecks. You have this one here in the front, then you have another one coming right behind it. Kevin Harvick gets pushed off the track. He says, thank you, Scott Pruitt. Scott Pruitt gets into Ron Fellows. Ron Hornaday gets into Burton. Brad Coleman comes in, and it's just a little parking lot down there.
And while all that's going on, the guys up at the head of the pack racing for the lead trade the top spot and some paint as they go up the backside of the course.
Robbie Gordon, we didn't see how he got alongside of Marcus, but obviously he did. And Marcus like, well, I'm not quite sure I want you there. And he picks his back tires off the ground.
And so Marcus Ambrose back in the lead after giving it up to Robbie Gordon for probably about 100 feet. And then Robbie came back up alongside Ambrose and said,
hey, how you doing?
I'm not pleased with you at the moment.
No, not at all. We said earlier that Marcus hasn't made anybody mad other than the 55 car.
So we're coming to the green flag. We're being Robbie Gordon's still in line in second place on the racetrack. We're being told that he is going to be back around 12th place after they reviewed the scoring and put him in and determined that that's where he should be. That's what we're hearing. He still hasn't yielded that spot on the racetrack yet.
Well, you know what? I think the cat sitting in 5th might win this race because they all said a green-white checker. They're not going to make it.
NASCAR is apparently communicating to Robbie's pit, those officials you saw standing there, saying, hey, you've got to drop back in line. I'm sure the response coming back from the race car is, don't like that
3.
call.
No.
But
Head forward, behind the 33. We need to get behind the 33 or we're going to get black flag. Behind the 33.
That's what's going
drop
on
back.
now as we come to the restart. So Andy Pilgrim in the 88 car for Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s team is going to be in second place. We've still got a couple guys side by side there.
One spot if we go behind the 33. Green, white, checkered.
The
33, I don't see him.
28 of Janssen and the 21 of Harvick. And we are going to have an extended race because we are under caution now. NASCAR has a rule that if the race would be under the caution flag as the conclusion of its scheduled distance approaches, then they will add what they call a green-white checker finish. So they'll wave the green flag, run a lap, wave the white flag, which in NASCAR is the signal that you're on the final lap of the race, and then come back to the checkered flag. Once they do start that white flag lap, though, if there is a crash or something that brings out a yellow flag, then that's it. The field is frozen. The race is over at that point.
Doesn't look like the 55 is moving behind the 33.
No. So we'll probably see the black flag for Robbie Gordon here. The question is, what will we see between Robbie Gordon and Marcus Ambrose as we come to this restart? It got wild last time down in these first couple of corners. What's it going to be this time? coming, could you?
He might just have to drive off the island. NASCAR might be just a little mad at him.
All right, so the lead is changing hands here now. Kevin Harvick has just gone out in front. A confusing situation to this race. Robbie Gordon may now be first in line on the racetrack, but the lead belongs to Kevin Harvick. Now, here comes the driver from Quebec, Patrick Carpentier, trying to see if he can catch Harvick and pass him for what would be the win.
Fans are going nuts here. And remember earlier that the 22 got spun out. Harvick, he's up on the wheel. He's got the wheels. Uh-oh, he's off the track.
Here comes Carpentier, looking for a way around. Harvick gonna block, and they're stacking up behind him.
We didn't see, but Andy Program got into, There we go, this is awesome.
Max Pappas in the one right there. Harvick trying to block, Carpentier looking inside.
And just 2 more laps yet. Andy Program got in the back into the side of the 59, so Andy was leading the race for about 2 feet.
So here they come to the white flag to begin the final lap. Kevin Harvick is the race leader. Patrick Carpentier in the 22 from Quebec is second, trying to find a way around. Max Pappas is third in the one. 13 corners to go.
Patrick got in a little hot there. He's opening up the chance. Kevin to get away.
Here comes Max Pappas inside of Carpentier. They're going to make the corner.
One of them. Okay, Shane said they didn't have enough fuel. This is going to be a nail biter.
The big hairpin turn coming up might be Carpentier's best opportunity to pass Harvick if he can get close enough. He's not right now.
Got 2 more braking zones to reach him.
Now they'll make that run down to that big hairpin turn. Look at Harvick sliding sideways.
All these guys, they're up on it, and as fast as they'll go, they're going.
Listen to the Quebec fans screaming. 1, 2, and 3.
1 more corner to get it.
They'll come to the end of this long, high-speed straightaway, jam on the brakes, have a quick right, a quick left, and onto the final straightaway where the checkered flag will be waving. Kevin Harvick started at the back of this field. Is he going to be able to hang on and get the win? Carpentier trying to find a way around, but Kevin Harvick is going to go from worst to first, and Kevin Harvick's name will go on the winner's trophy in the inaugural NASCAR Busch Series race at Montreal.
That's just awesome for that race team, boy. They, like I said, look out! Someone should tell these guys the race is over. Look, there's still guys spinning down there.
Well, I'm not sure Shane Wilson actually believed his car would be going to victory lane, Marty, but they are.
A huge victory, the first winner ever in Montreal. Shane, your fuel mileage worked. Good job.
Well, yeah, no, that was an awesome race. You know, we didn't have the best car today, but we just soldiered on and had a little bit of luck, and Harv did an awesome job, man.
He drove that thing like crazy right there at the end. Were you afraid he might run out?
Oh, no, I'm not afraid. It was just a great race. I love racing hard like that. It was fun. It's a great time today.
Shane Wilson going to victory lane, guys.
Didn't I say those guys are going to be up front at the end of the race?
Yeah, you did. I don't think anybody could have predicted how it would unfold, though. What a bizarre finish. Max Pappas congratulating Kevin Harvick. Harvick, the winner. We'll come back and review this wildness we've seen in these last few laps in a minute. Black flag by NASCAR. And our royal crowning moment comes with the way that Kevin Harvick got the race lead. Went green on this green-white checker restart. Robbie Gordon Gets into the leader, Marcus Ambrose there. Harvick is running behind Andy Pilgrim and yet comes out on top.
Once the windshield cleared, Kevin looked and says, wow, I'm running behind this 88 who's all tore up. And I'm looking good here, guys. Kevin knew earlier that Robbie Gordon shouldn't have been in front of him.
Well, it's going to be one of those races that everybody's going to be talking about this week. Yeah, we're having group donuts out here. Carpentier doing them as well. I guess saluting the hometown fans.
What a great day for that team.
He finished second. You see NASCAR officials there around Robbie Gordon's car.
They're still running. They didn't run out of gas, so they have plenty of gas left.
And Kevin Harvick trying to make his way into where Victory Lane will be here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. I was starting to say a second ago, this is going to be one of those races that everybody's going to be talking about in the garage area tomorrow at Pocono. They'll be reviewing the actions of the drivers involved, and did the officials make the right call?
Got to give them something to talk about.
Oh yeah, this one will be knocked around here for a little while.
He's got the Montreal stripe on the inside, opposite of the champions wall. He went on the other side of it.
I want to hear Harvick's reaction to how he wound up winning this thing too. 30th win for Kevin Harvick in the NASCAR Busch Series. 4th win of this season, ties Carl Edwards for the most this season, and Vince Welch is in Victory Lane with Kevin Harvick.
Well, Kevin taking a cold drink certainly has deserved it after this long day, as you noted, from worst to first to win this one here, and the celebration is on for the 21 team and Kevin Harvick doing the double duty this weekend, and it didn't look good for you at times and wondered whether you're going to have enough fuel. At what point were you confident that you were going to get the win?
Oh, never. I mean, it got, man, did it get rough. That was like Martinsville rough there at the end. And, you know, I don't know what, I saw the 55 parked back down the backstretch, and I think about 10 cars passed him. And I don't know what happened to the 88, but, you know, we were here for one reason, that was to win. And hate to deal with Scott Pruitt, but you got to give somebody a racing lane when you're side by side with him. You can't just run them in the grass. So it is what it is, and just got to thank everybody at AutoZone. I guess that's why we came up here, put on a show. Show ended good.
You know, they talked about qualifying was going to be so important for track position. How'd you come from the last starting spot to win this race? They didn't think it was going to be possible.
Yeah, I really didn't. I mean, you know, I thought track position was going to be really important, and it was. I mean, track position was important, but a fast car was more important. And the car never really drove how we wanted it to drive. You know, we practiced on Thursday and wound up, you know, having to adjust on it through the race here, and it just really tight all day. But in the end, it was good enough.
Kevin Harvick's the winner. Marty?
Vince, I'm here with Robbie Gordon. Got out of his race car, hopped on the roof, saluted the fans. Very rough racing there at the end. Robbie, what happened?
Well, if you want to know my opinion, I won the race. So I completed all the laps, and if you've seen this happen before, guys get spun when they slow down. That's exactly what happened with Marcus. He spun me when I slowed down, and they tell me I'm going to go back to 17th. It's not the way it is. It's happened many times. They set precedents before, and we'll appeal it. We won this race.
You chose not to go do the black flag and stay out on the racetrack.
I went back
NASCAR
to the position after I was spun, like it's happened many times before, okay?
Thank you, Robbie. Guys?
So the thoughts of Robbie Gordon there on the outcome of the race.
Well, you know, I mean, his take is, you know, he got spun out when the caution was out, and he wanted his position back.
Hoping to get a word from Marcus Ambrose before we leave the air as well and get his reaction to the events of today. Coming up next, X Games 13 from Los Angeles.